Waycross Community Television presents high school boys football. Tonight, the #1 ranked team in Cincinnati, the Moeller Crusaders, take on the St. Xavier Bombers. We're coming to you from St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, where you see the St. Xavier Band and the Moeller Band on the field, ready to prepare the national anthem. A shot of this huge crowd as thousands are expected, as this is the game where everyone wants to be. This is Dave Eby along with Steve Bradley and Dan Gibbons, and before the national anthem, we'll see if we can get a few words in here about the Moeller Crusaders, Dan.
Well, the Crusaders look like they're going to be really quick here, but let's stop for the national anthem. I think that's appropriate. Do I look good?
A huge ovation as both bands finish the national anthem and will begin to march off. Dan, let's get back to the Crusaders tonight, #1 in the city. Explosive offense, great defense.
I'll tell you, Dave, they're 4-0. They're a real good ball club. I think we got to keep our eyes on number 32, Brian Ballsy, okay? He's 5'11", 182, tailback. It'll be a typical Moeller game. I think they'll run to the strong side, try to wall off the defense, and let Ballsy get the ball deep in the backfield and try to go right or try to go inside. Okay, so I think Ballsy is one of the big keys. Kind of watch Ballsy which way he'll run to daylight, basically. Okay, I think the kid can go either way. Got a great passing game. Two people to remember there are Green, the quarterback, and Dave Lapham, and this year. He was a fullback last year, if you remember. He's been doing a great job, averaging about 12.5 yards on the receptions. Defensively, let's watch number 44, Wolfgang Schultz, a defensive end. Monk, okay, a defensive back here, usually a strong safety, 6'3", 210. Big kid back there. And he'll be playing to the strong side. Watch for number 42, Honchel, and I might have had his name wrong, Honchel, 42, and Tuck. Anyhow, on the inside linebackers. Those two kids are both carbon copies almost. 5'11", 195, 5'11", 200. And they're very active. They'll be blitzing. I think we'll see more blitzing out of Moeller, Dave, than we've seen in a long time. So basically, in a word, it's size and strength on offense for Moeller and quickness and strength on defense.
The Crusaders going back to what they know best, the traditional size and strength. They're 4-0 and #1 in the city. But Steve Bradley, the St. Xavier Bombers are the defending GCL sectional and divisional champions and played a mighty game against Cleveland Ignatius before falling in the state final. And Moeller's going to have to come in here and take that away from them tonight.
Dave, you're right, and I think that is probably the key for St. X. St. X comes in here thinking that, hey, they're the team to beat. It's it's no longer get all psyched up for Moeller. Moeller has to get psyched up for X, and I think a couple of keys on for St. X is what you want to watch. Kevin Ritter, number 27, the running back, has to have a big game. They got to be able to get him outside. They have to be able to run their option, no question about it. Defensively, you've got Lamar Marshall, number 28, and Mike Gussick, number 25. The two juniors who had some varsity experience last year, big hitters. Some people think they're Division I football player potential, maybe. They got to be able to fill. X thinks that they're quicker, and they think they're a little bit bigger. I know there's just a confidence among the players and the coaches, and by and large, these guys think they can match up with Moeller. And it looks like a great night for football, and let's let it go.
The expected rain has stayed away. You see the St. Xavier band marching off the field there. Quite a few festivities here tonight at St. Xavier. The University of Dayton band is in town to entertain at halftime. The Cleveland St. Ignatius Wildcats, number 2 ranked cross-country team in the state, is down for the prestigious St. Xavier Invitational tomorrow. And we have a huge crowd on hand. As you already see, the Crusader sidelines filled, the St. Xavier sidelines filled, and fans are just going to start filling in and standing along the track. St. X at 3-1. Their first loss was at Centerville, Steve, in a game where, quite frankly, the Bombers just got blown out early, and the Centerville Elks had them pretty much in their hand by halftime. But since that time, some big corrections made by head coach Steve Rasso and the coaching staff, and the Bombers have won 3 in a row.
Right, Dave. Steve and the coaching staff felt that there was a lot of guys that you got to remember. This was a senior-dominated team last year. There's a lot of guys that didn't have the experience, and maybe they were kind of awestruck going in. Maybe some expectations. The coaches sat down on a Sunday. They made about 9 or 10 changes. They've considerably picked up the speed on the defense, and they think they've got the combination right now. They're ready to go.
Dan, you see the Bombers gathering around head coach Steve Rasso as they play the fight song, and they come marching down the field. This is a little unusual that the home team comes down the field first, but the Crusaders have yet to emerge from their locker room. So St. X comes down. Dan, on the other side of the ball, not a great year last year for the Moeller Crusaders, and Steve Clowney and his staff went to work moving Dave Lapham and Wolfgang Schultz around a little bit, really working with quarterback number 11, Mike Green, to get him involved. And right now, they're ranked first in the city, and I believe they're ranked high in the state poll. And here come the blue and white Crusaders now onto the field. And they've gone back to traditional Moeller football, Dan. Strength and let the running backs cut. As you see the Crusaders coming out here, that's number 89, Dave Lapham. He'll be the man they'll go to in passing situations.
Absolutely, Dave. I'll tell you what, the Crusaders in the white jerseys and the gold pants out there, we see them, coming through here, breaking through the thing. I think they got a lot of motivation this year. X handled them pretty roughly last year, beat the socks off them up there at Galbraith, if we remember that ball game. And, the cheering section last year is calling for 300 points or, break 100, break 70 or whatever. They don't worry about the juniors that got to come back and play Moeller again. You just don't beat the socks off a Moeller team very often.
And, Dan, that's a good point. You take a 44-0 loss last year to St. X, but there is one thing you can come away with that game. You could use it for next year, and that's exactly what Moeller's done with this year now. I mean, there's some T-shirts, Dave. I think we were talking about this earlier. There's some T-shirts around Moeller that were sold. And in effect, it was I can't remember how many times Moeller's beaten St. X, but it
19 and 1.
19
and that's
and
one too many.
And that's one too many. That was the gist of the T-shirt, right? And a big banner out in front of the school this week. So Moeller's going to use that 44-0 defeat last year, and maybe try to play some mind games on St. X.
2 years ago, we had that excellent game that we brought to you along the Waycraft Community Network, where the Moeller Crusaders and St. Xavier Bombers were tied 14-14 at halftime. The Crusaders jumped out 28-14 on 2 screen passes. Some adjustments made at the halftime by the Crusader offensive coaches, getting those screen passes open. St. X made a long drive to make it 28-21, and the clock ran out as the Bombers were driving to tie it up. And this series goes back a long way, Dan, between the Bombers and between the Crusaders, and there's a lot on the line tonight here for both these teams as playoff implications already this early in the year.
Absolutely, Dave. I think Moeller's got to get into those ratings. They played a couple out-of-state teams, and they got to make a big push here tonight. 2 things I want to point out real quick. One thing is the kickoff game, the punting game, the extra point field goal game. We got some real challenges there. Fricky from St. X, kicking against Houston from Moeller. We'll kind of watch that as we go along. And I kind of hope we have a game like we had in '85. Moeller 56, St. X 42.
That would certainly light it up. Dan Fricky tees the ball up. He's one of the best kickers in the league, and deep for the Crusaders, number 2, Matt Keller, and number 24, DJ Hartman. This one's heading right towards Matt Keller, who takes it on about the 10-yard line. A short kick for Fricky. Keller with some blocking, and Matt Keller goes down on about the 35-yard line under a host of St. Xavier players, led there by number 25. We'll be calling his name a lot tonight. That's junior Mike Gussick.
Boy, let's watch for Moeller. If they might come out big, Dave. Let's watch, for a big play right off. I think maybe outside here with Ballsy. They'll try to get him loose outside.
The one thing the Bombers don't want to have happen, Dan, is what happened last week against Coleraine, where the Cardinals scored on their very first drive. They have to get their confidence built here against this offensive line of the Crusaders. That's quarterback number 11, Mike Green, who will be calling out the signals. Look for tailback Brian Ballsy. Instead, they give it to the upback number 44, Wolfgang Schultz, who's also one of the wrestlers, and Wolfgang taken down right by the interior of the St. Xavier line there, Dan.
Yeah, number 34 for St. X was right in on that stop, Dave.
Big Matt Loader pulling him down there.
Surprised me that they'd run, they try to dive right off, but they, again, the Moeller coaching staff is excellent. They may be setting up a play here. Maybe, fake to the fullback and,
We're
outside.
going to have to keep our eye on that. Wolfgang Schultz immediately ran off the field after that play, clutching his elbow, and the trainers are looking that the Crusaders certainly don't want to lose him, as he's just an excellent defensive end, a tough kid who's also a wrestler. Here comes number 32. That's Brian Ballsy, and they have to bring him down. He's the big man in the backfield for the Crusaders. And Steve, this St. Xavier defense is just not giving up that line right now.
Right, Dave. They think they're bigger across the front line, and they think they can force Moeller to play their football game. Now, what they're going to try, Moeller's obviously trying to get the ball to Balsley, and then if they're going to throw the ball, they're going to go to Lapham, the big tight end.
Great job coming up there from number 41, Barrett Doxey, making the play for the Bombers. Let's watch for Dave Lapham. Yeah, Dave Lapham.
That's right,
coming across here, as he's the big man they're going to look to, and the St. X linebackers are going to have to pick him up. This is where Centerville really had some work against X. Nice fake by Green. Going out here into the flat. That's Lapham, who was wide open. Driven out of bounds on the far sideline, but I believe he picked up enough for the first down as Lamar Marshall drove him out, and they didn't pick him up quite enough there,
Dave, I think we'll see Lapham here go down, isolate on the linebacker, and just slide to the outside. Simple play, well executed by Green and Lapham, and we might not get a replay in here before the next. Here's a replay. We see Green fading back. He does a quick hitch out there. Lapham's going out to the sideline. First down. Nice
10-yard pattern in the pickup of the first down, the first down in the game. They're moving from the 47-yard line. Big hole, fumbled in there Matt Keller does hold on to the ball. He's spun around by the St. Xavier defense.
Dan, you had commented earlier about the Moeller blocking scheme. It's as you described it, it's a wall-off block. And what they'll do is they'll hand that ball off deep in the backfield and let that offensive back choose his hole, and it's an exact case right there.
Exactly. Good stop by number 11 that time from St. X. I think that was Banker in there.
Tim Banker, the quarterback, switched to the middle linebacker after the Centerville game. So the Bombers working here to try and hold down after about a 4-yard gain. Green calling out the signals for the Crusaders. Handoff inside here.
Dave, something that I've observed is I think Moeller believes that they can blow St. X off the ball with their size. But I'll tell you what, St. X is playing it pretty tough. They're moving. They're not opening gaping holes. And Balsley, and Keller and Schultz, if he's in there, or whoever the back might be, Edwards, they're having to choose very carefully because they're not getting those huge holes.
Well, Dan, maybe they think they can run up the middle because there's a sophomore, number 35, Chris Hoffman, playing at weak side linebacker. Maybe they're trying to test him out tonight.
Brad Ruther on the last stop for the Bombers. Green had plenty of time to pass last time. Pass this time. Ruther hits him, but he gets it off to number 86, who's in the clear. Great shot there for the Moeller Crusaders. As an excellent reception made by Greg McHugh as he was wide open coming across. And a big gain as they go from the 47-yard line all the way down to the St. Xavier 21-yard line. Excellent play on the May. We're going to see this one come up as you see the...
Greg McHugh, I'll tell you, Dave's come through with a lot of big plays lately. He's a fine young player, and he's a big player for him. Here we see it on the replay. Green is completely under control back there. He looks, he's on, he's hit, he gets the ball to McHugh. McHugh seems to know what to do with the ball once he gets it. Boy, he picks up 11 yards.
Right, and Dave McHugh out there that time, he's sitting at he was in the wideout slot that time. What he simply did is he found the seam and he pulled up. Good route by him. Let the quarterback have some time to find him.
Green again drops back to pass. He's got all day back there. Little slot over the middle of Lapham. Lapham running into the middle linebackers for the St. Xavier. And I believe that may have been
46, Dave.
Josh Payton making the stop for the St. Xavier Bombers, but Lapham picks up 5 yards over the middle. And right now the St. Xavier defensive line has done a good job against the run, but they're definitely going to have to get in. Dan,
Boy, they gotta
across the front, Moeller's got some big boys, 275, 222, 205, and right now they're just walling off the St. Xavier
They
Bombers.
sure can't let Green stand back there all night like
well,
that.
the problem is the play action is freezing the linebackers is what the problem is right now.
Green with the handoff to Ballsy. Big hole for Ballsy. Ballsy trying to go through, and Ballsy gets outside. And Brian Ballsy scores on an 11-yard romp for the Moeller Crusaders. 8:05 left in the first quarter. And this is just what the St. Xavier Bombers did not want to have happen. We're going to see the replay here as watch Green hand off to Ballsy, and there's just great wall-off action
Watch
along
him.
the line
He gets the ball deep to Ballsy. Ballsy picks his hole, sheds number 11 there, the middle linebacker, and I'll tell you what, from then on, it was like he's got good speed and he's got good strength.
Straight ahead blocking. Let the running back pick his holes, exactly what they did.
Brian Houston to try the extra point attempt here, and Brian Houston also, along with Dan Fricke, one of the better kickers in the city. We have an official's timeout as there's a flag on the play. Offside against St. Xavier as the Bombers jumped a little bit there ahead of time, and let's see if that changes Steve Clowney's coaching strategy. A quick score here for the Moeller Crusaders. They came in confident and they marched right down the field on about a 75-yard drive as they took the opening kickoff and just went in.
Dave, the reason they refused that penalty, okay, is that you got a better angle kicking from 3 yards out than you do a yard and a half. It's a little tougher kick. The trajectory can be a little bit higher.
Snap down, placed very well. Houston with the kick right through the uprights. So Brian Houston converts, and the Moeller Crusaders are on the board first here with 8:05 remaining in the first half. The Fighting Crusaders 7 and the St. Xavier Bombers 0.
Well, they did just about what we thought. Give the ball to deep to Ballsy. They threw a little bit more than we thought because St. X has got a good secondary. And but pretty much they either put pressure on Green or it's going to be a long night for the Bombers.
You're right, Dan. I don't know. I think they probably kind of avoided the secondary as much as they were picking on the linebackers. They were freezing them with some play action, some delays across the middle to the tight end or to the wideout. Yeah, that seemed to work very well, that combination.
Well, let's take a look at this kick here. Fricke had a short kick, and Houston comes back, and let's see what he can do, huh? I predict he's going to put the ball in the end zone. The kid's pumped up. They came off a score, and I just have a feeling he's going to put this ball right in the end zone, Dave.
Got a little bit of wind blowing behind him, so if there is that factor, it's going to be blowing behind him at this point. Nick Riley in the deep position, Lamar Marshall and Kevin Ritter in the up positions for the Bombers. Riley and Ritter very, very fast, and Marshall just a punishing type runner on these kickoff returns. So the Crusaders doing exactly what they needed to do, get out to a lead, take some of this partisan St. Xavier crowd out of the game, and they're going to have to hang on here. The Bombers had a tough game against the Centerville Elks and then have run off 3 state victories. The Crusaders have been rolling since their opening victory over Highlands, and no one's derailed them yet. Nice high kick, and Riley's going to have to go way back into the end zone, but I believe we're going to have offside whistled against the Crusaders, and they're going to bring that one back. But that 5 yards won't make much of a difference if Houston kicks it like that the second time.
He put that out of the end zone darn near. It landed about 8 yards deep. The other thing is amazing. He gets the ball up in the air, too.
Yeah, he did, and he gave his cover people enough time to get down there. You got to remember that Kevin Ritter, number 24 down there, he's got excellent speed. Along with him and Scott Solomon last year, I mean that was a combination that most teams just didn't know what to think. This year, Kevin Ritter has to have the big game. He's got to have a big game. He's got to have a big season if the Bombers are going to go anywhere. I'm kind of surprised they're kicking at him, to tell you the truth.
Crusaders were whistled for offside, just as we saw there. So, of course, the St. Xavier Bombers will accept the penalty. You're looking into the St. Xavier cheering section there as the students are rather quiet right now as Moeller just roared right down the field, 75 yards for their first score. So St. X will try to come back.
This is a key play right here. They get a nice return. They get their spirits up. The Bombers, this is a key return. And Moeller realizes that, boy, and they're ready to go down there and try to stop them inside the 20. That's always the goal of the kickoff team. Try to keep them inside the 20.
Houston, a high kick. This one looks like it's going to stay just in front of the end zone. Lamar Marshall on about the 1 yard line. Number 28, he's got a hole, hits the hole, and then is swarmed under by a host of Crusader ball players there, as number 38 was the first one to hit him for the Fighting Crusaders, and that was Buddy Jackson starting off there for the Crusaders. But the Bombers are on the 25-yard line, so certainly something good to work with as Marshall makes the good return. You're looking at the Crusader sideline here. And now Damian Duros, number 12. You saw him 2 years ago lead the St. Xavier offense, and you're seeing him here now back as a senior. Steve, we're going to talk to you about the reads that Duros has to make, because if he doesn't make those, it could be a long night for the St. Xavier offense.
Exactly, Dave. He's got to check for that free safety. Here he is first off.
There looks like they're coming. Looks like the blitz is coming.
Duros with the inside handoff. A little tentative there. Ritter almost broke that play. Kevin Ritter with the nice run for St. X, and one hand slowed Kevin Ritter from really busting a big one. And I believe that hand belonged to number 88 in there.
Well, you know what St. X likes to do is like to put people in motion. They want to see how Moeller's going to cover it. And so really that was nothing more than just a test. Let the coaching staff see how Moeller's going to cover their man in motion, and then begin to organize some plays around that.
I tell you, he broke that tackle there. Ritter broke that Gruber tackle and got those nice yardage.
A 6-yard pickup for Kevin Ritter. So the Bombers looking at 2nd and 4. They like to run out of that option. Duros with the fake. Duros cutting it upfield. He tucked that one under very early. He's got a lot of room and one man to beat. Damian Duros is not going to do it. He had the full sidelines. If number 48 doesn't step up with the big stick for the Crusaders, Andy Schaefer just saves 5 points. Damian Duros going from the 32-yard line to the 45 of the Crusaders. An excellent run for Duros there.
That was a great play.
I mean, put him down.
Sure, yeah. Watch this rate play here. Now what you're going to notice is Damian's going to do is it's counter play fake. I think he wanted to probably maybe roll right and then throw. Saw there wasn't anything. He's going to use his speed, take it up left, and he could have been down that sideline if it wasn't for that ankle grab there.
Touchdown saving tackle there put on by Andy Schaefer as he saves the Crusaders, but that's the Bombers' first down picked up via the run. So the St. X offense entering. Duros with the handoff inside, trying to get it into Ritter, and Ritter runs into the middle of that Crusader defensive line as they just walled it down. Dan.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing something here. X is trying to play a little bit the Moeller game, trying to overpower those smaller but quicker tackles. On the 4-4 defense that Moeller's playing, it depends on a lot of movement. By that I mean there's a lot of games, there's a lot of slanting going on and stuff. It looks like X is just trying to overpower those inside guys, those inside tackles.
Yeah, but if they're going to have success, they're going to have to go outside. It's very, very difficult to run up the middle, to tackle against a 4-4.
Ritter with the 2-yard pickup. Duros. Here they come on the blitz as you saw that given away. There's Nick Riley, number 24, and Riley pulled down from behind by number 42, and that was just what you were talking about, Steve. Dan Honchel making the stop there.
That was a great read between the quarterback and old Nick there. What they did is he saw the blitz was coming. That meant he was manned up on the guy on the outside. Quick slant is exactly what they threw there. He probably checked off to his red. That's normally St. X's checkoff.
So the Bombers with another first down as now they're down on about the 30-yard line of the Crusaders. And so Damian Duros picking up the second first down with the great pass to Riley. Again, slant is open. Riley again on the slant, wide open, and Nick Riley with the catch. Brown made the fumble, and so it will not be ruled a fumble as he was definitely down before anything happened, and the stop made there by number 25, Mark Allen.
Dave, Dan, exact same thing to the other side. I mean, Doris is reading it. I mean, he's reading them like a book out there. That was, I think, a very important thing he had to do tonight. He had to see what Moeller's linebackers were going to do. The coaches felt that Moeller tended to show the blitz when they were vulnerable, and these kids are picking it up tonight.
An 11-yard pickup. Damian Duros to Nick Riley. Second first down via the pass for the Bombers. They're now on the 19-yard line, and they're in the red zone. Let's see if they can convert. Duros in a lot of trouble as both ends came in and just crushed him. Damian not able to hand off there, and those crashing ends really take him down.
Dave, I think it was a blown play. Somebody turned the wrong way, and there's nothing worse than turning around and looking for your guy, and he isn't there. But I'll tell you, he did the right thing. He tried to run to the hole. So just a blown play. They'll shake it off. But I think that those short look-ins or slant ins or whatever are setting up perhaps kind of a shake and go or a fake and go here.
Well, they got the two speedsters on the outside. Gussick, number 25, to the left. Riley, number 24, to the right. Selvey, who can really blaze in the middle. Duros with the fake. Damian's got some room to go if he can get one block. Wasn't able to get it from the tackle there, Steve. I'm not sure who that was in the offensive tackle position, but his man shed him and stops Damian Duros, who is on the ground and could be injured. He's holding down near that leg, and he really looks to be in pain as they take his helmet off. And this could be a bad situation for the St. Xavier Bombers. Trainer Laura Hartman going out to look, and I think he got it right under the shoulder, guys.
You think he turned his... his knee up underneath him. It looks like there.
Could have been a right knee, Dave. Looked bad. Looked like that was Monk and Honchel on that hit.
Here we go. Here comes Duros. Now watch what happens here after he gets tackled. His knee is planted. It just gets railed up underneath him there as 3 Crusaders are able to get on him, and the training staff is out there working on him. That was an impressive play for the Bombers as they needed to shed one man. And Dan, the one man is there for the Crusaders tonight. That's the difference right now in this 7-0 score, as St. Xavier has had 3 opportunities and one man has stopped them each time from going into the end zone.
Aptly called. Exactly right. First of all, I'd like to attribute that to good coaching, good defensive back coaching. I remember Mike Cameron was the defensive backs coach when I was over there at Moeller. And boy, what an outstanding working on that open field tackling time after time. And Moeller's been doing it, Dave. You're right. They've saved certain touchdowns for St. X. We just hope that the young man Duros isn't hurt too bad here. And we're just trying to look at him through the glasses to see if the staff is bringing him up. But
I think what we're going to do is I think they're going to have to bring out a board here as they're sending both teams to the sidelines, and I think this is a serious injury, as not only is Laura Hartman out there, but the other trainers and doctors for St. Xavier are out there looking over the young man. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go bring the board out here onto the field. And this one may take a little while, so we'll get a little chance here. The St. Xavier backup is number 7, Joe Sprengard. And Joe has come in late in the games, and every time Joe's come in, he has definitely driven them downfield. But, Steve, he's only a sophomore.
Right, he is. This will be a big test for him, no question about it. I know that Steve is very confident in this young man. I mean, I know he can make the reads. These guys get a lot of reps in throughout the week, so.
Right now, we're going to take a break for these commercial messages, and we'll be back along the Waycross Community Network television.
Waycross Community Television. Without the community, we'd just be TV.
Damian Duros being helped off the field there as the Moeller Crusaders, with 4:08 remaining in the first half, holding on to a 7-0 lead, and this could be a big blow to the St. Xavier Bombers. Their starting quarterback, Damian Duros, who has really engineered quite a drive to get the Bombers down onto the 13-yard line, correction, is over on the sideline, and they're going to be taking a look at this young man.
Dave, it looks like that right knee.
Number 7, Joe Sprengard, is in. We'll keep our eye and try to keep you people posted along the way here. 3 wideouts, Gussick, Riley, and Selvey, all out to the left. Kevin Ritter, the lone back, looked for the shovel pass up the middle here. Crusaders showing blitz, but then they back out of it. Sprengard looking for the quick throw. Selvey wasn't looking as the ball was underthrown going out left. So Joe Sprengard on his first attempt. He's a little smaller than Damian, Steve, and just sort of got tipped at the line there.
Yeah, and then Moeller was coming that time. They were going to test this young kid out and see what he could do, and he got rid of it a little bit too quick. I think he could have waited just a little bit longer. They weren't on him that quick, and maybe give Tion Selvey a chance to turn around there. But they got a very accurate field goal kicker coming in right now.
This is very important for the St. Xavier Bombers, as Dan Fricke needs to hit this to keep the confidence of St. X up. They've had a nice drive from their 25-yard line, stall on the 13 because of the injury to Duros, and now Fricke needs to convert the kick. It looks excellent from here, but let's wait for the referee's whistle, and it is, as Dan Fricke easily converts the 28-yard field goal, and the St. Xavier Bombers find themselves 4 points down to the Moeller Crusaders at 7-3. Dan coming back, just not for the TD, but at least for the field goal to get on the board.
Heck yes, boy, like you said, it's very important for St. X to score on that drive. It's awful tough losing your quarterback and then to have your first drive of the game come up cold. Now, the test now will be the St. X defense. The defense is going to have to rise to the occasion. They're going to have to shut Moeller down early, because if they get started again with Ballsy, Keller, Schultz, and I haven't seen Schultz back in there. He may have come back in, but we'll watch for Schultz or whoever that fullback is on that play. Boy, I'll tell you, you can't let Moeller get started on you. They'll beat your brains out.
Right. I mean, Moeller's they're not gonna run Schultz to death on offense, because he's really their best defensive player is what he is. He plays that end position, the defensive end, and that's where they think they'll probably get the most use out of him. It's Ballsy's the one that's going to carry the load offensively by and large.
Schultz appears to be a great athlete. He started there at fullback and started the defensive end at Moeller. That's quite unusual to have a player play both ways.
Number 31, Andre Collins, along with number 2, Matt Keller. Dan stepping back as Dan Fricke lines up the ball here for the kick for the St. Xavier Bombers. Fricke last time only got it down to about the 10-yard line. Let's see if he punts this one deep. Short kick by Fricke as it's down there by one of the Crusaders on the 21-yard line as and that was number 34, Derek Edwards, downing the ball. We've gotten word from the bench that Damian Duros has an injured hip. We don't know if he's going to be returning to action yet, but we got word from down on the bench that Damian Duros, it's the hip that they're going to be looking at, and we don't know yet if he's going to be able to return to action.
Maybe hip pointer. That's a lot better than a ligament or a cartilage, I'll tell you. Also, we realize that St. X now is kicking the ball short. They're kicking it line drive on purpose to try to negate that good run back from Moeller. We'll get some of those stats on that to you in a minute.
Green falling back into the pocket. Green with the pass out here, and as soon as that ball was caught, he was nailed by number 85, Brad Ruther, as he puts the big hit on. Number 85 for the Bombers, Ruther, taking on Brian Ballsy there, and Ballsy not able to hold on, but that was quite a hit.
Big play by senior number 85, Brad Ruther. He's kind of, I guess he's kind of the emotional leader on the defensive squad. I mean, he's the type of kid that would, step up and say, fellas, we're not going to let him drive down the field. And, he read it, he stayed at home, filled fast, and dropped the kid. Big play for St. X.
Well, I'll tell you, it took too long to develop, too. Moeller's getting a little too confident in having so much time, and they just took too much time to develop that play.
Tim Green here with the deep drop. Green with plenty of time. Green again in the hand flat out here as it was coming out to Brian Ballsy. Ballsy not able to turn around as Chris Hoffman got an arm on that one for the St. Xavier Bombers. And now they're looking at 3rd down and 10. The defense would love this, 4 in and 4 out. Get 3 in and then have the punt come. But let's see if they can hold on. Let's look for big number 89, Dave Lapham, on that drag across the middle.
Yeah, Dave, you were right. Nice coverage on the youngster, the sophomore, Chris Hoffman, the weak side linebacker. He had him covered that time.
Might be setting up a play wide out here. There's 2 short plays to the far side.
You got to look for Lapham though. That's the kid they'll go to in this situation right
Lapham's
here.
tight end to this side.
He's definitely been
blocking.
spreading it out. This is Green with the pitch here. Green's got some room. And I believe the first down's going to be made. St. X had the chance to stop number 2 back deep in the backfield, but Matt Keller got around the original tackle, and that's going to be about a 14-yard pickup for the first down as the Bombers had it stopped, but he got away. Keller, 185.
He's averaging about 5.2 yards per carry, Dave, number 2, Matt Keller, and like he had 6 foot 185. He seems to be able to move real well.
So the Crusaders pick up a crucial 3rd down and 10 as they've been very good on 3rd down conversions, and now they're operating from their 36-yard line as Tim Green calls out the as Mike Green calls out the signals. Green with the handoff here, back deep. That's
same guy.
That's Keller back
again.
And number 35, Hoffman on the stop there for the Bombers. Nice hold, Dan, about a 9-yard pickup.
Yeah, looked like zone blocking or straight ahead blocking. Pick your guy. They're chopping the legs out from underneath the St. X defenders, doubling up on the hole where they want to go, and Keller's just popping through there. Keller looks like a straight ahead slashing kind of a runner, averaging over 5 yards a carry. Nice job.
2 Crusaders back of Green, 2 Crusaders split wide. Handoff here to Keller. Keller with enough to pick up the first down, but he's not going to get much more than that as the St. Xavier defense clamps down. Number 35 is Hoffman. Number 25 is Gussick. Number 34 for the Bombers, Matt Loader, all converging on the sidelines.
It looks like Moeller's, what they're going to do is so far the strategy seems to be run to the weak side is what they're doing. I mean they're bringing the tight end. What I mean by the weak side is the side away from the tight end, and what that does is it brings St. X's strength to the tight end side, and what they're doing is running to the weak side, and so far they've had great success with that.
Number 34 limped off there for the Crusaders, Derek Edwards. We'll have to see if he returns to action. It looked like he was having a little bit of problem with one of the ankles.
32's in there, Dave, and 40.
Brian Ballsy in the backfield along with Jermaine Monk. Tim Green calling out the signals at quarterback with his 2 split outs. Green fumbles the ball, quickly gives it back here to Ballsy. St. X trying to cover up. The Bombers finally able to get a man on him as number 71 and 25 converge there. That's Gussick and Sal Jaleen. Sal Jaleen hitting him first, and then Gussick coming up from his defensive back position.
I think we'll see a second effort on Ballsy's part here. Again, the ball's dropped by the quarterback. Pitch deep, messes up St. X's timing. Ballsy throws off 1-2 tackles in a mark of a great back. He's got terrific feet. As he's going down, he picks up 2 more yards. I think the coaches probably had a little bit to say to Ballsy over on the sideline about, running with authority. And boy, he sure looked like it that time.
Second down, 4 yards to go from the 45-yard line. The Crusaders on another march. Ballsy with the deep handoff. Big hole on the left side as Ballsy, number 11, Tim Banker, able to get an arm out. But right now the Bombers not really hitting them, Steve, head up, as the Crusaders just have great blocking up front.
Well, as Dan pointed out, I mean, that was a great example of the wall blocking. What they're simply doing is, right now, Moeller is controlling the offensive line. And what they're doing is they're hitting their people. It's very simple. They're just saying, I'm better blocker than you are. And they're just driving them off the ball. They're giving their running back Ballsy the ball about 5-6 yards deep in the backfield, and he's just following that wall. And then you on that play was great. You saw his burst. He saw the hole he wanted, and he took off.
So the Crusaders now operating with another first down as they're coming from the 40-yard line. Green's got a man open on the sidelines, and he dropped the ball. Lamar Marshall was trying to get out there, but that man was wide open, only he just couldn't hold on to the pass. Otherwise, it's another first down.
I think that was Lapham, Dave. I think that's who they're going for.
It was to see Lapham coming back to the huddle. He isn't going to miss many like that. But I'll tell you another thing. We got a strange depth perception. That ball is 70 yards away from us, and it could have been sailing away from him. It could have been a lot of little things, okay? But I'll tell you what, that ball hit him in the hands, and, we looked like he should have had it.
Tim Green here calling out the signal, second down and 10 yards to go. The Crusaders find themselves just inside the St. Xavier 40-yard line.
The public address people's asked the people to move back from the sidelines. There's a huge crowd
Green
here.
dropping straight back. Plenty of time for Green, and wide open over the middle is number 81, and he drops the ball. Tom Briskin, and Tom Briskin had a good another 10 yards if he holds on to the ball, but I think maybe he saw too much, Green, Dan.
We don't want to pick on any kids because it's a lot easier to play the game in the booth. But again, Green victimized by a receiver wide open.
Yeah.
Apparently the ball's just dropped. It happens. A little lack of concentration, trying to run before you got the ball. Sometimes, you hear footsteps behind you. I've done all 3.
Third down, 10 yards to go. Last time the Crusaders went to the weak side with an end sweep, and they picked up the first down. This is a big play for the St. Xavier defense as they would like to rise to the occasion, as they still haven't proven that they can shut down this Moeller offense. Green fakes into the middle. Look for the screen out here on the side. Over the middle, ball is dropped as a big hit was put on there.
Barrett Doxey.
As Barrett Doxey really put the hit on number 86, Greg McHugh.
Yeah, now Barrett, number 41 on this play. Now he's the young man that was beat on the last play that you saw. And here, watch Barrett make up for it on this now. Now Barrett's out here to the right of your screen. He's locked on man coverage right there. There he is. Great coverage. Great job by
Good
Barrett Doxey.
stick under the arm as he just strips him of the ball. Kevin Ritter, Nick Riley deep. Number 7 punting here for the Crusaders is Brian Houston. He can really boom him from the kick position. We got flags off. Somebody jumped on the interior of the line. Let's see how the Bombers are going to play this, as Riley's going to let it bounce and it's going to go into the end zone. But there were penalty flags down, and let's see what the call here is, as the St. Xavier Bombers may have to receive another kick.
Dave, I couldn't see for sure. I was watching Ritter back there, or Riley, but you're right, it was on the interior. I tend to think it was on St. X, to tell you the truth.
Well, he might have been drawn off, or he might have jumped off. You can't tell.
Here comes the official signal here.
That
Legal procedure being whistled against the Crusaders, so I'm sure St. X will take this penalty and see if Houston will kick it again, and maybe they can get a
sure. Move back, maybe they can
here.
down inside the 10 there.
One of the things that gives coaches gray hairs is the St. X player that was standing back there and the ball hit behind him. The ball hits behind you in football. You don't want that to happen. A couple yards, it could just as well bounce back against you.
Yeah, but there's a rule of thumb that they'll teach them, well, even on up into college and the pro ranks, is you stand at the 10. If the ball's going over your head, just let the thing go.
Exactly.
Kevin Ritter, Nick Riley right on the 10-yard line. Brian Houston got all of the last punt. Good blocking up front by the Crusaders to hold the St. Xavier Bombers at bay. Let's see if the Bombers peel back. Lamar Marshall is crashing. Houston with the punt this time. Riley going to take the punt, going to fake taking the punt, and it's going to bounce at the 9-yard line and just go into the end zone before the Crusaders get there. A 45-yard punt off of the foot of Brian Houston bottles up St. Xavier with 29 seconds remaining in the first quarter. And the Crusaders with a 7-3 lead. The defense rose to the occasion after a good drive there by the Crusaders.
Nice job, nice job. They kept themselves in the ball game. Now let's see how this young quarterback goes on his first series.
Dan, you make a big point there. If the Crusaders go up too much, I'm afraid that St. Xavier would be out of the ball game. And right now, the Bombers are going to have to depend on number 7, Joe Sprengard, 5'10", 158 sophomore. A lot of weight on Joe's shoulders right now. I think maybe he's going to try to get his feet here a little bit wet, handing off to Ritter and Selvey and seeing if the line can block. There's the handoff to Selvey. Good blocking to the outside. Arm tackle there for the Crusaders as Selvey goes down after a pickup of maybe 1 or 2.
I'd like to tell you who made that tackle, but I'm not sure he didn't fall over one of the St. X blockers. I'll tell you, it was either an arm tackle or whatever, but boy, he had a good head of steam and a misdirection play.
Well, St. X has some great speed in that backfield with Tion Selvey and Kevin Ritter. I mean, we're talking 2 guys that are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 4'6" for sure. I know Ritter's probably the fastest on the team, and then Selvey. But when you give the ball to those 2, anything could happen.
We'll be right back after these messages on the Waycross Community Network as the Moeller Crusaders 7 and the St. Xavier Bombers 3 at the conclusion of the first period.
It's bigger, it's bolder, it's better than ever, it's life.
It's life. And if you're a person, you absolutely won't want to miss out on it. Yes, life. It opens cloud breathing tubes, refreshes like no other, and you can enjoy it wherever you go. That's right. Life's so versatile, there's almost no limit to what you can do with it.
Hi, Mom.
Why, just listen to what satisfied people are already saying about their lives.
I would trade mine for anything.
I would be sunk without mine.
You gotta get one of these. Life. It's so easy to use. Just follow these 2 simple directions.
Do cool stuff.
Don't do drugs.
How can you get one? It's easy. There are no numbers to call, no forms to fill out, and no salesman will knock at your door. So act now, because life
Goes with everything.
Except drugs.
A message from a drug-free Navy and Marine Corps. Only 1 per customer.
We're back at St. Xavier High School, where the Moeller Crusaders enjoy a 7-3 lead here as we begin the second quarter. The Bombers operating with second-string quarterback Joe Sprengard as Damian Duros went out with an injury early on the first drive. Tion Selvey just with a 3-yard pickup, so the Bombers will be operating from their 20-yard line. Second down, 7 yards to go. Ritter's in motion. Look for Sprengard to throw to Ritter. Sprengard tucks it under. And Steve, either the Moeller Crusaders are just blowing the offensive line off the ball, or the St. Xavier quarterbacks aren't willing to stand back there and throw the ball.
Well, that was a play that X has been working on through the week. What they did is they had Ritter as the lone back, the one back set. Then they put him in motion, and in effect it turned into a no backs. And what they wanted to do was to see what Moeller was going to do. The thinking was a strong safety would go out on him, and that would leave a big hole up the middle. The youngster just didn't react quick enough for those linebackers.
Mr. Tuck
they sniffed it out all the way.
Mr. Tuck said, "No, sir. This is my territory."
Exactly.
Big number 40.
Third down, 7 yards to go for St. X as Joe Sprengard looks at the play selection on his wrist there. Both quarterbacks for St. X with the plays on the wrist. Sprengard loosening one up here. Number 25 putting the coverage on there for the Crusaders as Joe Sprengard tried to loosen it up along the sidelines, but the pass wobbles out of bounds, and now St. Xavier going to have to punt from deep in their own territory as Sprengard was looking there to hit Chris Glazer, but nothing doing as the Crusaders had that one smelled out.
That's great. The coaches are over there talking to him, Dave, saying, "Hey, Mr. Sprengard, that's all right. You set up." I watched him a whole play. He set up beautifully. He came across. He got the nose of the football up a little bit, and it sailed on him.
Matt Keller is deep. Dan Fricke's back to punt.
Looks like a block, maybe. Nope, return.
They're pulling off for the return. Dan, I was thinking block too, because Fricke's had a few blocked this year. As it definitely, the ball's going to bounce backwards here as the ball hits at the 48-yard line and bounces back to the St. Xavier 45-yard line. So a 20-yard pickup off of that punt, and St. Xavier needed to blast one a little bit farther than that. As right now, the Moeller Crusaders with excellent field position and a 7-3 lead. Let's see if they go for it right away.
I think they'll go back to the same basic game plan, get the ball to Ballsy or Keller, wall off and go for it. But also watch for the long ball to McHugh, okay? McHugh's been open a couple of times.
Yeah, you know, this is the time to let it loose if you're going to do it. You're sitting on the St. X Bombers 45-yard line. You're in great field position as it is. You've had some success throwing the ball. go after one of the corners this time. Why not?
They are picking on the weak side, too. As you said before, Steve. Looks like they're lined up to go weak side again.
1st and 10 from the 45-yard line. Mike Green calling out the signals. Green with 2 men in the backfield behind him.
There we go.
Here's
weak
the
side.
handoff here to Ballsy. Ballsy looking for some room. Can't find anything along the interior as St. Xavier able to snuff that one out.
Little counter action to the weak side.
Another injury. That's Matt Polskamp, number 69, injured.
Yeah, I think that is Matt.
Yes, number 69 for the Bombers, Matt Polskamp down, and this would be a huge injury for St. X. Losing Duros was tough, but now if Polskamp goes out, he's one of the big boys along that defensive
71
line.
just stacked that weak side play up, Dave, and just really had the glasses on him, and man, he did one heck of a job.
Junior Sal Jeline.
The other thing that happened on that play is that one of the St. X backs came up late and kind of stuck the runner as he was going down, and I think, in the pile there, St. X kind of stuck their own guy.
Polskamp at 6'4", 240, one of the bigger St. Xavier Bombers. They don't want to lose him off that defensive line that's been finding it difficult to get past penetration against the Crusaders as it is, and to lose Matt would really be a blow. You're getting a shot there of the press box, and now you're getting a look down at the offensive line coach, John Sullivan, working there, trying to explain some of the plays for the Bombers as he's knocking it out there for the offense as they look at Matt Polskamp out on the field. So St. X trying to get some blocking schemes down so they can get their offensive running game into gear, take some of the pressure off of young quarterback Joe Sprengard, who's had to step up into a big situation here with the injury to Duros. It'll be 2nd down and about 9 yards to go.
They appear to be working on the thigh or the knee of Polskamp, Dave, left side. Looks like they're going to substitute for him. He's not very comfortable down there. We know what that feels like, but he's going to get up here and try to get off the field.
They're taking a brace out onto the field to brace the area where it is, and this does not look good for the St. Xavier Bombers. As right now, this is their first GCL game, and if they get beaten up too badly here, they travel to LaSalle next week, and then the Elder Panthers come back here to the Bomber Stadium, and the Bombers just cannot afford to get beat up too much in this opening GCL game. As Steve, as you said, last year not a lot of juniors played up, and St. Xavier graduating a lot of seniors, so these guys seeing some action, and the Bombers just don't have the depth that they had the past year.
Exactly, with probably the exception of Lamar Marshall and Mike Gussick. Those were the 2 younger guys that saw some action last year. Matt Polskamp, the nose tackle, he's your linchpin on that defensive line, and if he goes down, he's one of the bigger guys. It's guys like Polskamp that's where St. X thought they could dominate on the line. Well, good news, at least he's standing up. He's hobbling. They got some bigger kids out there to help him off, but they got the brace on, I can see.
So they've got the brace on the lower left leg of Matt Polskamp. He's keeping it straight as they're bringing him off the field here, and the St. Xavier trainers and doctors will take a look at him on the sidelines, and head coach Steve Rasso at this point has to hope that nobody else goes down, as he's already got some players who were injured coming into the game, and we're only in the 2nd quarter. You're getting a shot of some of the news people here and some of the photographers here for the press. This is the place to be in Ohio tonight as the St. Xavier Bombers and the Moeller Crusaders, number 6 in the city against number 1 in the city. Back to action here. Mike Green going to call out the signals, and Green with that stacked eye back there behind him. That's Edwards and Ballsy in the backfield. Green with the fake. Green with plenty of time is rolling. Green's got a man wide open, and it bounces off the shoulder pads. And right now, the Moeller Crusaders just can't seem to hang on to the ball, as Derek Edwards had that one hit him right above the numbers, and it just went out.
And it's a good thing, because Derek Edwards, he plays fullback, and he came out. I mean, you got to hit those guys coming out of the backfield. You can't let them come out clean like that.
Watch Edwards on this play. The ball hits him right in the hands. Green fakes to Ballsy, freezes the linebackers, as Steve was saying. Fakes, there it is. Hits the ball right off Edwards' hands. It's 6'2", 225. The kid can run.
On the one hand, the Crusader offensive coordinators have to be happy that their receivers are so wide open, but on the other hand, I can see a few coaches wringing hands or pulling hair here as they just haven't been able to pull it in. 3rd down and 9, a big play here for the St. Xavier defense if they can shut them down here.
Watch the pitch left.
Green, fake inside. Ruther trying to get in from the outside is walled off. Oh, and it hit number 35, Chris Hoffman, square up, and Hoffman not able to hang it in as Green rung that one right out there to Hoffman, and that would have been going the wrong way, but he couldn't hold on. So we're going to look at 4th down and 9 yards to go, and Brian Houston will come in for the punt. So the St. Xavier defense, Steve, has done its job. The offense has to get moving.
Right, big play by the sophomore, Chris Hoffman. He took his proper drop. He was sitting where he needed to be, read the quarterback, and reacted. The only other problem is just an interception there. Should have been nice.
Last time Houston put this easily into the end zone. Riley's on the 10, Ritter's on the 5. Let's see what the Bombers try to do. They're peeling off for the return. Plenty of time for Houston. Gets his foot into it. Ritter's going to have to scoot up and make the play as the ball's going to bounce just about the 15-yard line and be down by the Moeller Crusaders. And so the Bombers are going to start from deep in their own territory. Has a great punt coverage there for the Crusaders. Has St. Xavier backed up on maybe their 16, Dan.
I noticed defensive coaches for Moeller over there exhorting the Crusaders, and I don't think they were just going over the standard plays. They're going to try to, I think, break this game open with a big defensive play. Put a lot of pressure on the sophomore quarterback in there. Perhaps come with some blitzing because they know they're going to be probably running the ball back up the middle.
Ritter's got to step up here. They got to get the ball to Kevin Ritter. They got to turn him loose on the outside. I mean,
Riley and Glazer are here on the outside for the St. Xavier Bombers. Ritter and Selvey in the backfield as Joe Sprangard calls out the signals. Kevin hasn't touched the ball too much. Tion Selvey fumbles the ball, and there's 5 Crusaders on it. Steve, I was surprised they didn't get the ball to Ritter as number 41 recovers the ball there for the Crusaders, and this could just be the break that Moeller needs as Troy Tuck fell right on that ball, but Tion never got a good handle, I think, on the ball, and when he was hit, it just bounced out.
Right, it's hard to say if he got the ball or if he got hit just as he received the ball. It's hard. Either way, the ball just popped right out of there. There were 4 Moeller kids around there. There's no question about who had the ball.
Yeah, they were coming. They were coming on the play, and I think we guessed just right on that one. Boy, this is a big play. Let's go. I think they'll go for the touchdown, Dave. Watch 89.
Look for Dave Lapham on the play. Here comes Green calling out the signals. He's going here to number 2, Keller. Keller's got some blocking in front of him, and Keller makes a nice turn inside, but Lamar Marshall says, you're not coming over my territory, as number 11, Tim Banker, out there to help out. Nice pickup for the Crusaders of about 4 yards on the play, maybe 5. Let's call it 2nd and 5. They're down on the 10-yard line, and they're definitely in dangerous territory here.
They just got the people on the weak side to overpower St. X there. But St. X's linebackers and secondary are closing real well. I mean, they're doing a good job. But, boy, they got some big people over there.
Number 62, Josh Young, is the man on the hot seat on defense as he's come in here for Matt Polskamp, and he's going to have to do the job there at the nose tackle position and really hold down. Green with the roll. Green's got some room. Green can make the pitch to Keller. Keller driven out of bounds right about the line of scrimmage as Keller had nowhere to go. You get a good shot
Dave.
there of the crowd here at the game, Dan, as they just drove him into the crowd.
That was number 85, Brad Ruther, and then filling up there to help out was the cornerback Mike Gussie. Big play.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the ball looked like it might have been a design play that, he just kind of fakes the ball, then completes a pivot. This is Green I'm talking about. Turns all the way around and then tries to pitch out, but play was too slow in developing,
right,
too.
It's his option. He probably read it a little bit slower. I mean, he could either keep it or pitch it.
Watch number 81 here, Tom Briskin. He brought the play in. He's 6'4", and he's a lot taller than the defender. Here comes the student body left. Plenty of room up in front. Keller trying to cut it up, and Keller's definitely got the first down as the Crusaders brought everybody on that end around. They remembered how they picked it up on 3rd and 10, and I think they've definitely got it here.
71 makes the tackle, but it's too far downfield. Here comes student body right, okay? Keller's got the ball. He looks, he reads. He's got the hole. He goes and gets the first down. But unfortunately, he was 6-7 yards downfield, and that's the old Green Bay Packers student body right.
Well, they're going to bring the chains out for the measurement here, as I thought he had the first down easily made, but Sal Jaleen may have covered just enough. If not, it's going to be a crucial mark here.
You convinced me of it, Dave.
Yeah, big junior Sal Jaleen there. It did look as if he had it easy, but yeah, he did.
Sometimes the officials need something to do out there, too. They got to be sure and look good, get some TV time. Incidentally, the officials are doing a great job tonight. Cleanly played game, as always. Very two disciplined, well-coached teams out there. Okay, so let's look for...
1st and goal from the 3-yard line. Number 34 is the up back. That's Derek Edwards. Number 32 is Brian Balsley. He's the deep back. Let's see if they run in between the tackles. Balsley dancing around in the backfield meets a host of St. Xavier players. The hole was there, and Balsley tried to sneak through, but good defense put on there by the Bombers.
Moeller's brought it in tight now. They're running out of their power back, their 3-back set, and
Let's give
They're just gonna try to
Balsley
power
a yard on that play, and it looks like they're out on the 2-yard line. So that huge offensive line of the Crusaders here are going to try to push against the St. Xavier defensive line.
Again, what discipline by Balsley. He's coached to read, and 3 yards out he reads and still breaks it inside. Great read.
Offense by committee is number 2. Matt Keller checks in. Keller's been very successful on the sweeps. Keller's got some room to the outside, but he slipped. Matt Keller had it, but he slipped on the 6-yard line as they had plenty of room out there. And I thought when they brought number 2 in, they may be trying to go outside. They found great comfort doing that tonight, Steve.
Dave, you're exactly right. As soon as that pitch was made, there were 2 Moeller blockers. One of them hit the defensive end. The other one was scot-free, and he would have walked into the end zone around that side. But
nice play by number 25 from St. X that time, though. Stood up.
That was all right. Mike Gussick.
Yeah, Mike Gussick stood up 46, and
Barrett Doxey and Tim Banker check in as the Bombers go away from the goal line defense. Let's see what the Crusaders do. Nice fake by Green. Man's open down the middle. Green's going to try to run, and Green's not going to make it as the St. Xavier defense rises to the occasion here. The tackle made by number 85, Brad Ruther, and Ruther with a touchdown stop there as Green made a great read.
Ruther's
rolling.
hurt. Ruther's hurt, Dave. He got his neck jammed. Okay, had a heck of a hit. Steve, you might be able to see that.
He's rolling. There's Ruth right there on your screen. That's him right there. You saw him. Now, Dave, he's the one or Dan, he's the one that's down there. I couldn't really see.
He got his head jammed, knocked back by the runner there. He was blocked and he was a little bit off balance and went in. I'm sure he's okay, but
looks like he caught a knee in the forehead and drove his head back.
Right, threw his head back here.
Another big play though by senior defensive end. I mean, remember if you'll recall in the last stance there down there, it was Brad Ruther again. Boy, that would be a blow to the Bombers. They just cannot afford this kind of losses right now.
Right now they have 2 men out, and the 2 men that are out for St. X are Matt Pulskamp and Damian Duros, 2 star players offensively and defensively. And now the man who's more like the inspirational captain of the team, Brad Ruther, made the great hit on Green, but Green, no slouch himself at 6'4", 210, a big quarterback. He just barreled into Brad Ruther, and Ruther here being looked at by the trainers. There's the Crusaders setting up around number 7, Brian Houston. We know that he's got the leg. We're probably going to test his accuracy here a little bit. He's on the near side hash mark, and so he'll be kicking with that near side hash mark when the Crusaders set up. And it'll be about a 22-yard field goal for the Crusaders as the trainers looking here at Brad Ruther out on the field.
A lot of times you get a stinger like that, Dave, or you get hit in a hat like that, your neck flies back. He's got all the equipment on. He's got the neck brace, or the neck roll, not the neck brace, but the roll that keeps your head from flying all the way back. But it's kind of like a whiplash in an automobile, except when that knee hits you in the forehead, it really stings. And so I think he's just got I hope he's got a little stinger out there. He did get up, as you know, walked around a little bit, then went down to his knees and laid down. So he's got mobility, and that's always a very good sign. This kind of an injury.
While they're tending to Brad Ruther out on the field, we've noticed that Damian Duros has taken off the pads, and he's done for the night as he's on crutches on the sideline. He was heavily taped going into the game, and when you run the option, you really run the risk of having your quarterback hit, and that's why you need more than one quarterback. The Bombers last year with Jamie Doxey along with Dominic Cafeo, and this year Joe Sprengard is really going to have to step up big in this game. And this might be serious as they're going to bring the little Jeep in here, I believe, and they're going to lift Brad Ruther up and take a look at him.
Yeah, but the important thing is he sat up. I just saw him sit up. It looks like Dr. Bob Hyde out there is just telling him to take it easy, get up at your own pace.
Oh, you got the best man in the profession out there looking at him, and isn't it terrific? These doctors, these people from the Wellington Clinic out here attending to these athletes. I know the Moeller side's got a number of excellent physicians over there watching out for these young men, because it is a physical game, and it's a contact kind of a game. Looks like he's walking off on his own power.
Looks like he's walking off under his own power. 6'1", 210-pound senior Brad Ruther, and the Bombers certainly hope he can return to action, as that would be a second blow to this defense that's already without Matt Pulskamp. So the Moeller Crusaders here looking to increase their lead from 4 to 7 points as the St. Xavier defense rose to the occasion after the fumble by Selvey.
Lapham holding the ball there. That's a key thing here. Let's make sure he gets it down.
Long snap from center. Good snap back. Houston with the kick. From our angle, it looks good, and the referees say it's good, and that gives the Moeller Crusaders a 7-point lead as Brian Houston converts a 22-yard field goal, and the Moeller Crusaders now off to a 10-3 lead with 7 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in this second quarter.
Well,
Big stand for the Bombers, though. I mean, they turned the ball over deep in their own territory. You know Moeller was going to come out with something, and what they did is they minimized the damage, and that's all you can ask your defense.
And like you're saying, your middle guard coming out of there, and and Moeller running up the middle, testing their big offensive line against the smaller St. X line. Big stand, 1 touchdown difference with about 7 minutes left in the half. I tell you, that's not too bad.
It's important for the St. Xavier offense, though, to mount a drive here. Ever since Damian Duros went down, the Bombers have not mounted a drive. They've been in and they've been out, and they're keeping that defense on the field a long time, and that's going to hurt them in the second half. They need to mount a drive or get a nice return here and take some of the pressure off of that defense as the Crusaders with a 10-3 lead midway through the second quarter here.
Let's see if Houston kicks long this time. I think they've been kicking short to prevent the big play, which is good coaching, and it kind of ruins your kickoff average, but it prevents the big play because you don't want to kick that ball down there to Ritter too much and let him open. They remember last year some deep kickoffs and what happened.
Riley and Ritter along with Lamar Marshall, deep men for the Bombers here, as let's see how Houston's going to play this one. Houston puts the ball nicely into the air, and it's heading right towards Kevin Ritter. Ritter backs up, takes it on about the 5-yard line. Ritter's got 1 block. If he can scoot through, Kevin Ritter not going to scoot through the wall, though, as he did have some holes, and Ritter picks his way through on a nice return for the Bombers. Number 51 making the stop, Kelly Scheit there for the Crusaders.
I tell you what, that defense on that play was a work of art. They had every hole covered. They stood up the blocks. It was a great return by Ritter, but he needed 1 or 2 more blocks. Now let's read the quarterback again this time. I think maybe there was a little mix-up in the backfield. The timing's a little bit different. Let's see if he can get off a couple of good clean handoffs and get St. X started on a drive.
1st and 10 from the 22-yard line. The Bombers need to move the ball out of the red zone and go on a drive here to keep the Crusaders at bay. Springard with the long count. Handoff inside to Ritter. Ritter trying to bounce to the outside. Cannot get around, as Kevin Ritter just had 1 too many men to try to get around there, and he just wasn't able to do it. Nice stop on the play made by number 40 of the Crusaders, Jeremiah Monk, the junior on the defense.
Monk stuffed the hole up. Ritter wanted to go off tackle. It wasn't there. He was forced to bounce outside. Not only that, not only did Monk stuff the hole, then he pursued him and dragged him down too. Big play by
the inside tackles there for Moeller too seem to be very, very quick in the middle there, and they just took up 3 or 4 of the St. X linemen and left Monk free to pursue the ball carrier.
Let's see if they can throw that inside slant. Duros is a lot taller than Springard, and so it makes it easier to throw that slant, but that's the one pass play that has worked. Nice cross by the Bombers there. Pass too high for Nick Riley as Joe Springard threw it up. Nick had to go up in the air, and it was still over his hands. Gussick and Riley there making the X, and Steve, I think Nick was open on the play.
Well, it was really difficult to see who Joe was trying to throw for. I think he's obviously very excited at this point, coming in as a sophomore, but he's just got to relax. He didn't really have to force it in that time. I'm not sure anybody was open either way.
Third down,
he's just
11.
Got to settle in.
3rd and 11 here. Ball's on their own 21-yard line. The Bombers finding themselves 7 points down at 10-3 to the Moeller Crusaders.
Blitz may be on, Dave.
Dan, we'll come back to this Moeller defense here in a minute.
They're going to the no-backs. Watch the draw.
Ritter going out. Springard's going to have to get rid of it quick, but Ritter's open on the far sideline, but it was tipped there by number 41 who felt he had it in his hands, Troy Tuck. Tuck was the man who picked up the fumble, and Tuck looking there to get an interception as Springard couldn't get it over him. Ritter was open on the fly on the sidelines.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe it looked like he was going for number 88, and I believe that is Chris Glazer he wanted to hit for. Looks like Glazer did a curl in route is what he did.
Time to go for a block, too.
Let's see if the Crusaders come. The St. Xavier punting team sometimes takes a little bit long in getting the play set up, and Dan Fricke doesn't have the quickest release. So let's see if he can get the punt off. His last punt went 20 yards, and they need a boomer out of him now as they have to keep the Crusaders at bay. They're blocking off, backing off here for the return. Nice punt by Fricke, taken on the 40-yard line by number 2. Nice reversal of Fields, but he may lose some yardage here as he's back on the 30-yard line. And he lost 15 yards as Matt Keller not making the wise play there. He was on the 45-yard line and went down on the 30. There's a penalty marker down on the play, and we're going to have to see what the officials are going to call here.
Dave, I believe it was clipping on Moeller.
Yep, number 34. I thought got clip from St. X. It's so hard. I tell you, they tell you to get your head in front on that play, and here it is. Mike, you want to call it?
Watch this. He's going to take the ball here on about the 45-yard line. Now, his initial spin seems to loosen him up here, but then he just keeps spinning backwards, and the more he spins backwards, the deeper and deeper he gets into trouble until Barrett Doxey finally takes him down, number 41. And the Crusaders are going to be moved back even farther here on a 15-yard penalty off of the clipping. So they're going to start from their 17-yard line, so putting it all together, nice punt for Dan Fricke. 5 minutes and 33 seconds remaining here in the second quarter. The Moeller Crusaders finding themselves 7 points ahead at a 10-3 lead. Their offense has moved up and down the field. They just haven't been able to put the ball into the end zone as the St. Xavier defense has stiffened. This is Balsley, number 32, met deep in the backfield, but he breaks 2 tackles. Dan, good running there by Balsley.
Well, I'll tell you, Balsley had his mind made up. Number 11 from St. X just came on the blitz.
Timmy Banker, big
yeah,
play.
Read the open hole and went in there and got him. But Balsley, he's a man. He carried him right back to the line of scrimmage. Had a good hits on him.
Junior linebacker. Now, there's a kid that was who was playing some quarterback, but they moved him over because they needed help on the defensive side.
Duros was hurt in the first game, and Banker quarterback the Centerville game, so he's playing middle linebacker, a new position for him, and he's adjusting to it well. Green calling out the signals here for the Crusaders. Good fake, and then the handoff to Balsley again. He's got some room to cut back, but Banker fills the hole, and there's that pursuit by the Bomber defense.
Tell you, the kid that made the play was the guy that we were talking about earlier. It was Brad Ruther. He wasn't in on the tackle, but what he did is he shed the blocker that froze the running back that gave people like Banker time to fill up and make the tackle. Big play by Brad.
Matt Loader also getting in there with Tim Banker on the play, so it's 3rd and 9 for the Crusaders. And the St. Xavier defense, Steve, has definitely risen to the occasion. Dan, we knew the Moeller defense was tough, and they've only given St. Xavier 3 points off the first drive. And so what we thought may be an offensive shootout is really turning into a defensive struggle here between the Crusaders and the Bombers.
Absolutely. They got to put some pressure on Green if they're going to win this ball game.
Green with plenty of time. Oh, they've got 5 men boxed in between the tackles, and wide open was Lapham, and he dropped the ball. This is really unbelievable because he's the best receiver in the city in terms of receptions. Number 89, that's Dave Lapham, and he had plenty of distance available to him down the sidelines. I think he turned before he had it.
Well, he was wide open.
I mean, you're talking 10, 15 yards, he was wide open.
I don't know what the play was on that, but he was so open, he couldn't believe it, I think.
Well, he was heading towards the St. Xavier sideline there.
Mike Green has to really worry about this as he's put the ball right on the money. They just haven't been able to hang on. St. X going for the block as they've got 10 men up on the line and only Nick Riley deep. Good pursuit. Nice snap. Oh, number 34 just couldn't get his hands up quick enough there for the Bombers. That was Matt Loader as he really got in there. Marshall and Riley picking off the ball that's going to go out of bounds on the 47-yard line. So a good punt from Houston as he was under some pressure, and Tim Houston takes that one out from his 17-yard line to the 47. Now this is excellent field position for the Bombers. 3 minutes, 43 seconds to go. A good drive here takes you into halftime and really pumps up your team, and that's what Steve Rasso would really like to have.
Right, Dave. Big series for Pat O'Leary in the offense here. Pat now this is his first year as offensive coordinator. Pat normally coaches the offensive line along with John Sullivan. We'll see what Pat has up his sleeve here.
Joe Springard, number 7, settling in behind center, and let's see if the sophomore can settle down and direct the offense here. Barking out the signals. Springard with the handoff to Selvey. Selvey's got a hole. He sneaks forward, and Tion Selvey was met at the line. And then Dan, like you said, good running backs keep going on their feet, and Selvey did just that, picking up about 8 yards.
And his hands, too.
I tell you, that 3-point stance, Selvey also hit the hole so fast, and that's what St. X needs. They need to control the line of scrimmage against this 4-4 defense, and they need quick developing plays. They need to exploit the flats against the 4-4 too. So good start there. It's a good start.
Speed on the left. That's Gussick and Riley split out here. That's Selvey and Ritter who are in the backfield, and Springard calling out the signals. Bombers would like to run behind the offensive line, take some pressure. Springard with the fake handoff, then gives it to Selvey. Selvey breaks one tackle. He held the ball up high, and I thought it almost was going to squirt loose there as Tion Selvey dragged down.
So far, Kevin Ritter's role tonight has been kind of a decoy because He was the one that was coming back. He was Scott Solman's running partner last year, so Moeller was probably thinking that's the guy to watch, and so far we've seen Tion Selvey.
This is third down and a long one, and Tim Banker, number 11, checks in. Let's see if Timmy moves to tight end, Steve. Not only does he play fullback, but he goes in blocking situations to make a second tight end. This is a long 1 yard for the Bombers. The Crusaders bringing 5-6 men up on the line and 4 men behind them. St. X trying to power ahead, and Ritter does power ahead. It's all going to depend on the spot, as Kevin Ritter definitely hit the hole there. And it looks like the Bombers have picked up the first down. Let's see where they're going to spot the ball, as Ritter definitely hit the hole well.
I think he got about a half yard, looks like, Dave, because his momentum carried him up, and then he was stuffed.
Now they're going to come out and measure it. And I'll tell you what, I can't say enough for this this Moeller defense here. They are just playing so solid. They're staying at home. They know their assignments. They're just doing a great job. St. X is showing a lot of desire here. They're fired up. They're coming out, really going after it. Here's
they're going to make it by the length of the ball, and so the St. Xavier Bombers pick up a crucial first down, and the clock stops with 2 minutes and 17 seconds. They ought to get the play in right away so they can get up to the line, as they're down 7 points here in the second quarter. To get on the board, Steve, here would be a big boost.
You're right. Well, at least sustain a drive. I think that's the most important thing. Keep the ball away from Moeller. Convince themselves that they can drive on these people. I don't think they have to go to the air yet necessarily, but what they got to do is get the ball loose on the outside to Kevin Ritter. I think that's absolutely crucial.
They're going to reset the chains here. The officials are looking at some of the equipment on one of the Moeller players, and as soon as they get him put back together here, we'll be back to action. The Crusader defense, Dan, has been excellent tonight, stopping the St. Xavier offense and holding them to 3 points.
Yeah, they got to hurry now. The clock is rolling. They don't want to take too much time in the huddle.
They had went to the line with the play, so I'm wondering what they're doing back in the huddle, as they had been waved off after they needed time there. 1 minute, 56 seconds to go. Joe Springard checks in underneath the center. 2 wideouts for the Bombers. Ritter, Selvey in the backfield. Springard going to drop back. Everybody in the stadium yells pass. Ritter hits number 25, Mike Gussick, right in the shoulder pads, and Gussick could not pull it in. And both teams' receivers having the dropsies tonight.
You're right.
Absolutely.
Great pass. Great pass by Springard. Hit Mike Gussick right in between the 2 and the 5. You got to hang on to those. Those are there.
Boy, I tell you, that ball's kind of tricky out there tonight. But again, on the Moeller defense, I'll tell you what, the tackle, I think it was Riley, 98, just drove his man right back. And the St. X quarterback still got the throw off very nicely.
Riley and Selvey out to the left. Ritter and Glazer are going out. There's no men in the backfield. Here's the draw. He's got some room. And Springard just goes straight up the middle. Steve, I thought he was going to burst to the outside, but he just went right up the middle after he got through that initial 3 yards.
That's something they thought they could run against Moeller with success. What they're going to do is put Riley, or I should say Kevin Ritter, in the motion on that play. One of the linebackers has to go out with him. What that does is put one linebacker in the middle. Everybody's manned up on the offensive line. If he can get a block, it's just a matter of him putting some footwork on that linebacker, maybe pop it for a big play. And you can see.
And the 2 Moeller tackles kind of got that taste of blood from chasing that quarterback.
And they were coming anyway.
And they both pinched in and were just ridden out of the play. It was a really nice quarterback draw. Good call by probably O'Leary.
Pat O'Leary on the sidelines, the offensive coordinator for the Bombers, as he's trying to make things simplified here for Joe Springard and take some of the pressure off the sophomore quarterback.
What a confidence builder for the young man. You think quarterback draw, oh my golly, crucial situation. He sure gave a good account of himself by reading the tackles that time, reading his blocks, and sprinted ahead for what 6-7 yards.
Third down, and we've got 2 yards to go, as Springard picked up 8 on the play. The Crusaders want to stop and hold here. They'll call timeout, because I'm sure they'll then bring the rush and try to block the punt. A pickup of the first down here for St. Xavier would be monumental for the Bombers. Matt Loader has checked into the backfield, and when Matt checks in, he is usually the blocking back for number 27, Kevin Ritter. Tim Banker in tight. All the Crusaders 7 men on the line, 4 backers right behind him. We have the handoff here to Selvey. Selvey fumbles again, and Tion Selvey's going to have to just tuck the ball in, as that's his second fumble of the night, and you can't have that on 3rd and 2 to fumble.
Tuck, again, a very complex play back there, misdirection. And Tuck didn't go for any of it. He stayed at home. He was well disciplined, made the hit. The ball came out, but I think St. X recovered their own fumble.
You know, Dan, I'm thinking that play has got to be designed to go a little bit deeper on that handoff. There was just too much traffic in there to get it to Tion. Maybe Tion should have come back a little bit deeper. I'm not sure, but it was clearly a fake into the inside, and then bringing the, I guess, the up back there around, kind of like a half back around is what it would have designed to be.
Kind of a misdirection, kind of a play. Going for the big gain, not going for 2. You can't blame that. You know, nice job, coach. You know, he called. He went for the big play, and that's what football games are made out of, calls like that.
St. Xavier trying to take time off the clock there as they're trying to keep the Crusaders at bay here in the first half, and so they accept the 5-yard penalty for the delay of game as Brian Fricke goes back into the punting situation. Let's see if the Crusaders put everybody up on the line. No, number 2, dangerous Matt Keller is going to go back for the Crusaders to return Fricke's kick, and let's see if Fricke tries to angle it to one of the sidelines and keep it out of Matt Keller's hands, as he's a dangerous return man. Moeller bouncing around on the line of scrimmage. Fricke calling out the signals. You see number 8 right there in your picture.
Return.
Here's the snap to Fricke. They're coming back. Fricke with a nice high kick, giving the Bombers plenty of time to get down. Marshall trying to zone in on Keller. Marshall missed him with the diving stop, and now Keller's got a sprint down the sidelines. If they can block Fricke, they got it, because nobody will catch him. Fricke can't do it, and Matt Keller is going to go 90 yards with the reception for the Moeller Crusaders, and that's just the thing that the St. Xavier Bombers did not want to have happen. There is no yellow flags down. 6 points for the Crusaders on an excellent return by Keller. Fricke hung it up there high. Marshall went for the shoestring tackle, and he made it, Keller made it stand up on the 90-yard return, and right now St. Xavier, where they didn't want to be, down by more than 7 at halftime.
Tough, I mean, great offensive play. I think we'll see Keller receive this high punt, unless we see the PAT first.
Houston gonna line up there to put the ball down, and then Houston will take the kick here. So St. Xavier trying to get out, only down 10-3, are now gonna find themselves down 17-3 after Houston easily splits the uprights with that one. And what a great return by Matt Keller. Here comes the replay. Now watch the high punt, guys, and then Lamar Marshall, the man on your outside, he's got him in his sights, and then he goes for the shoestring tackle and just misses him.
No outside containment there. They got outside, and look at this picket fence set up here. Again, the kicker trying to get over, played him outside, and look out, 90 yards, and I'll tell you what, that puts a whole new complexion on the ball game.
Dan, I think you said it. It was containment. I got to think that it was Lamar Marshall's. That was his responsibility. That outside, he thought he could make the tackle. Once he missed, that sideline was wide open.
So that excites the crowd here with 28 seconds to go. The Moeller fans now sensing a major shift in momentum. The St. Xavier Bombers were hanging on at 7-3. They stopped the Crusaders deep in their own territory after a fumble, made them kick the field goal. It was then 10-3. A nice drive by the Bombers, stalled down at the midfield. Fricke with the punt, and then the nice long return there by Matt Keller. And Coach Steve Clowney has to be happy going in 17-3 here at halftime. And the St. Xavier Bombers need an explosion right in the beginning of the third quarter or right now, just to be a little confidence builder here.
Watch the onside kick here. Might try to go for a late field goal.
Marshall, along with Ritter and Nick Riley, are deep for the St. Xavier Bombers. 28 seconds remain in the first half. The Crusaders breaking open a tight defensive game with a nice long punt return. Ritter's going to pick it up. Ritter's got some room. Ritter's got a hold of the middle if they can hold the block. And then the Crusaders really bomb in here as number 99, Brian Fitzpatrick, hauls Ritter down on about the 43-yard line. 22 seconds to go. Let's see if the speed of the Bombers works here in their favor.
Well, I'll tell you what, the number 7, the kicker was right in on that too. That ball was, again, nicely played. Nice coaching on the special teams for Moeller. Everybody was in their zone, and Ritter had a heck of a return.
Well, he is the kid that can break it open. There's no question about it.
Nick Riley split out here. Here's the handoff inside to Ritter. He's not going to go very far, maybe pick up 2. Bombers going to let the clock run out here in the first half as they find themselves 14 points down to the Moeller Crusaders. The Crusaders 17. We're going to go down onto the field here in just a moment and have an interview with Coach Steve Rasso and Athletic Director Pete Boylan. It's a tight 17-3 game, and Steve probably here going to look into the camera, say some things to our announcer down there, Jim Emig, on the field. As you see the Crusaders, a happy bunch going off here. There's the score, 17-3, St. Xavier and Moeller here at halftime.
I'm with Steve Rasso, head Bomber football coach for the St. Xavier Bombers. Steve, other than the first drive and other than the fumble, you've been tough. You stopped all the Moeller drives. You stopped the running game. You stopped their passing game. What are you going to do in the second half to kind of bring up the Bomber offense?
I think right now we just got to get our morale back after that last touchdown, which was a heartbreaker. Right now I know our kids are down. They got to come back. I think we got to start getting some points on the scoreboard. It's really, tough without Damian Dorson, and we're going with sophomore quarterback right now. Joe Sprengard doing a great job, but, just the whole momentum of the game changed somewhat. And defensively, we cannot allow any more points. No question about it. They're doing a great job, and we got to shut them out. We got to score some points in the second half.
Thanks for the interview, Steve. Good luck in the second half.
Jim Emig on the field down there with Steve Rasso. In the background, you see the University of Dayton Band as they have traveled here to St. Xavier to entertain us at halftime, and they'll be going on. We'll be back after these messages along the Waycross Community Network with second half action.
Perhaps your future's up in the air, and you just don't know it. Aim high. Air Force.
cartoon that soared to the top of the charts in 1967. Featured on Player X, the prize rendition shows that the fifth dimension and their beautiful balloon can still take you up, up, and away.
Crusaders have a 17-3 lead over the St. Xavier Bombers. A tight defensive struggle here at St. X until number 2, Matt Keller, ran 90 yards in the last 1 minute of play before the half to break open a tight game, and the Crusaders take a 17-3 lead. Statistically a tight game, guys, but on the scoreboard the Crusaders up by 2 touchdowns.
Well, Dave, if you really consider what's been done so far in the half, the Bombers, I think, are somewhat fortunate to be in the situation they are. I mean, Moeller's dropped some passes. Moeller hasn't really executed as greatly as they probably could have. On the Bombers side, though, you got to admit they're in trouble. I mean, Dave, you got bringing in a sophomore quarterback. He simply doesn't get the reps as somebody like Damian Doros does. Doros won't be back, from what we understand. That's the hip injury. So you take him out of the game, and you take a guy like Matt Polskamp, defensive nose tackle, out, and the Bombers are maybe kind of shooting obviously undermanned here, and it's just a matter if they can hang on here and get the ball to Ritter. They got to do that. I mean, he's got 5 carries for 9 yards. That's not going to do.
The other half of the story is on that one, Steve, is the Moeller defense. I'll tell you what, the Moeller defense has played tough. The special teams have played tough. They're well coached, they're well prepared, and they're executing out there. Some of the names that we might mention here: Wolfgang Schultz is playing in there. We talked about Tuck in the middle there. We talked about Monk. Those 2 inside guys are going to get their names called a lot because the defensive tackles in there, guys like Bailey and Fitzpatrick, 98 and 99, are just keeping the defenders off them. Also, Tony Keller, number 92, in there. We try to get everybody's name in there, but I'll tell you what, those kids in the middle are really deserve a lot of credit. Somebody else that deserves a lot of credit, that offensive line for Moeller. Lapham, Tincher, Murphy, Goodhart, Schaefer, Nash, and Andy Baimechi. I'm sorry if we're messing your name up there, Andy. And Nick Hodge also has done some blocking from that outside receiver. So we look down on the field, Dave, and looks like we're warming up, but I don't see St. X out here yet. They're having a little trouble getting through this crowd, probably.
A huge crowd here tonight. Dan, you're exactly right. I would estimate, just like we had last year or 2 years ago when Moeller and Elder both came here, the crowd definitely does hold in there by the gate area, and you can see some of that crowd now. Statistically, the game was tight. The Bombers with 68 total yards and the Crusaders with 110 total yards in the first half. The big difference was when Damian Duros went out, the St. Xavier offense literally shut down, and they're just going to have to find creative ways to get the ball into the hands of Kevin Ritter, because Joe Springard has not been running the option the way that Damian Duros did. Duros 2 for 2 for 26 yards. He had 3 rushing attempts for 27 yards and that long 22-yarder. And the Bombers were not able to convert to a touchdown there, and that's why they're down 17-3 at this point. But what's going to have to happen is you see the blue and white as St. X coming out. The crowd's going to try to pump them up here as the Bombers suffering from that long touchdown run by Matt Keller, and that really blew it open for the Crusaders. Quarterback Mike Green on the other side of the ball offensively for the Crusaders has really thrown the ball well, but he has been a victim of 4 drop passes right out in the open field, and the Bombers haven't been able to pick any off. The Crusaders haven't been able to pick any off. So right now a tight defensive game that was busted open by the long haul there. And I think what's important for St. X, they're going to be receiving the ball first here. And if they can get on the board and try to erase some of those points off of the long run by Keller, they've got a chance to get back into the game emotionally. Steve, this is a team that is going to have to dig real deep here. I think that in the interview that Steve Rasso gave at halftime, he talked about the morale is definitely going to have to pick up. And right now, they're just going to have to play deep down on some guts and on some psychology here to get real fired up.
Right, and he, as Steve said, he's got some young guys, and this is the time they're going to have to step up. When your quarterback is a sophomore, and he's going to have to direct a comeback against a team like Moeller, it is definitely gut check time, and we'll see what the St. Xavier Bombers are made out of the second half here.
Right, winning statistical battles doesn't do much for you sometimes. The stats aren't that far off, but I'll tell you what, big plays, that fumble down deep early on, that the long 90-yard touchdown that you called. St. X's defense, the keys that are St. X's defense, I think they can't let Moeller score again. And the St. X offense, as you've both already said, has got to get untracked and got to get get a quick score no matter what it is, just to get their confidence up. A lot of it depends here on the, a lot of the skilled players, but that's why we call them the skilled players. Quarterback, split ends, they running backs. They've been marking up Ritter pretty good, and I think they're trying to run him inside. And you got the most experience that Moeller has are those inside people, those two defensive tackles and the two inside linebackers. So that's kind of a tough challenge. It's like you're running your strength at their strength, and the coaches will make some adjustments. And I'll tell you what, I think we're in for a real interesting half of football.
And anything can happen on a night with the full moon, and you just saw there in your picture. Funny things have happened here in the stadium as Moeller and St. X have played many great contests over the years in this tough GCL league. Unfortunately for the Bombers, they're undermanned going into the second half. Matt Polskamp was hurt. Damian Duros is hurt. He was on crutches and had his pads off, so we really don't expect to see him back in here in the second half. And up to this point, I think the Crusaders are running at full blitz, and St. X just cannot afford to have any more injuries come their way as they have a full season still left in the GCL. We're getting ready here for third quarter action as the St. Xavier Bombers break out of their huddle and the Moeller Crusaders break out of their huddle. The home partisan crowd here trying to pick up the Bombers as they find themselves 17-3 down. You're getting a look there at head coach Steve Clowney of the Crusaders putting on the headset. Clowney under a lot of fire last year, but he certainly answered his critics as he's brought back the Moeller football program this year. Not that it went that far last year, but Steve Clowney bringing them back to a 4-0 nothing. We're going down onto the field now for a quick interview.
Hi, I'm with Paul Schildmeyer, president of the Greater Cincinnati League. Paul, could you tell me, there's been a lot of talk lately about the principals in the state of Ohio voting to separate the parochial schools athletically from the public schools. Could you give me a feel on how the GCL would view that?
Well, I don't think we look on it too favorably. Right now, we have a pretty good relationship with the public schools in Southern Ohio, so I don't think we'd want to see it. I don't think the principals throughout the state will go along.
Well, I'm hoping you're correct. What do you think would be the outcome if it were to be enacted?
Well, most probably you would see two high school leagues. We would split off from the OHSAA.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back up.
Brian Houston teeing the ball up here for the Crusaders, and he will be kicking off to start this third quarter as Kevin Ritter, Nick Riley, and Lamar Marshall are deep. Houston had put the last time he kicked off from here, he easily put it into the end zone, and Houston has this one deep into the end zone. Nick Riley watches it sail out of the far back end zone. So the wind whipping up a little bit here coming from left or right at St. X. And the Bombers will put the ball in play from their 20-yard line.
Well, he put the powder on that one. Again, 9 yards deep in the end zone and high. A lot of college coaches out here looking for that young man. You might see an ambulance leaving here coming through your picture, but looks like the medical staff is helping out somebody that might have had a little problem on the other side.
Number 7 is Joe Springard. Springard at 5'10", 158. He's a sophomore, and he's going to have to direct the St. Xavier attack the rest of the way here. Handoff to Ritter. Ritter's got a hole, and Kevin Ritter plunges ahead for 8 yards, and that's exactly what you said the Bombers need to do, Steve. Just put the ball in that man's hands.
Right. They just, I mean, that's their hope. They got to give the ball to Kevin and let him do what he's best, and that is breaking and open field running.
I'll tell you, Jermaine Monk on the tackle there really had to come across because everybody was blocked. Jermaine doesn't get him. We got a 15, 20-yard gainer.
Let me run down that offensive line for you for St. X, because they're the guys that made that play run. Dave, I'll turn it over here for you to call this.
Springard calling out the signals as Selvey goes in motion. He's number 44. 2 split outs for St. X being matched up man-to-man. Springard trying to pitches it behind Ritter. Ritter's just going to have to fall on it. And Joe Springard there with the quick pitch. Nothing going for St. X. And another Bomber is down on the field here.
Looks like Dave Alsbach, Dave.
Just the man they don't want to lose. The
Right
one
guard.
guy who really saw some action last year for the Bombers was number 72, Dave Alsbach. He seems to be gripping towards the knee area. And let's see what happens here with Dave Alsbach, as the Bombers have already lost 2 important players, and Dave, one of the captains here, the Bombers certainly don't want to lose him. He's sitting up now a little bit, and Coach Rasso out there telling him just to relax as he's being looked at by the trainers. Steve, why don't you go down the rest of that offensive line?
Yeah, along with Dave Alsbach, who's a senior. He's a senior right guard. We got Scott Smith. He's the left tackle, and Scott's a senior. We've got Chris Rule, who is a senior left guard. We've got Big Dan Williams, the big man there in the middle at center. He's a senior. And as I mentioned, Dave Alsbach, the athlete that's down on the field right now, he's a senior right guard. And then we have junior Manuel Chavez on the right tackle.
They're checking that right ankle on Alsbach. I was hoping it was a cramp, but they're working specifically on that right ankle. He went downfield to get a block and kind of got rolled over on that ankle there. It was a shame in a way that pitch was a little bit low, because the wall was there, the blocking was done, and you only have an instant. But Ritter's got to get the ball outside. He's got to get some room to run here to loosen up that middle. So we're kind of hoping that.
Dan, you know, it's really hard to say exactly what happened on that play, but at least from what I saw, it maybe appears as if Joe Springard maybe pitched a little bit too quick. I mean, on that pitch, you got to step down the line. Obviously, you got to read that defensive end, and then you got to step to the pitch, man. And I don't think that Joe did. I think he just kind of flung it out there, and it was just too low.
As you say, he just doesn't get enough repetitions during the week, and
exactly right.
You got a sophomore out there. I think he's going to give a good account of himself before this night's over.
Number 64, Jason Ania, checks into the lineup for the Bombers. Springard working behind Dan Williams, the center, who's provided a lot of great blocks tonight. He's done his job. Springard setting up, lofts that one into the air. We got a penalty flag down, as Nick Riley, I believe, may have been held back there. If not, Nick's going to be called for offensive pass interference for a push-off, as Riley tried to go into the open area and Springard lofted it out there. Looked like Steve, quarterback and receiver, unless Riley was held, not communicating there.
Well, I'll tell you, number 98 from Moeller. 98 Bailey from Moeller. Andy Bailey came in there clean. They just overloaded the weak side on St. X, and they blitzed, and there were just too many people there. I think quarterback did a great job getting that pass off that time at all.
Big break for St. X there, because Dave, you had called it. Clearly, the quarterback and the receiver weren't on the same page there. Joe Springard threw it to the outside. Nick Riley, the intended receiver, turned inside on an inside curl. But Moeller was holding, and obviously I think they were holding Riley on that. Big first down.
Big first down for the Bombers as Riley and Glazer check out to the far side here. Ritter and Selvey in the backfield, and Springard calling out the signals. Moeller staying in that tight 4-4. Springard here looking down the line, fakes the handoff inside to Selvey. Springard's got some room, and then Springard runs into 4 men. And Joe Springard getting first taste here of some tough action as Troy Tuck really put the hit on Joe.
Well, Troy Tuck, Springard showed some speed that time, shows the determination, but Tuck's a lot of man out there. Tuck has got great movement and just got out there, got in front of the play, and laid the first hit on him. Also, great pursuit by Moeller.
You know, I mean, that was a big play for the young quarterback. You know, he took a good hit and he made something positive happen. Now let's see if he can build on that.
Absolutely. Nice play.
7-yard gain for Joe Springard on the play. Second down, 3 yards to go. The Bombers find themselves on their own 39-yard line as they've moved out from the 20.
You're right.
Crusaders bouncing around in and out, showing the blitz, then backing off it. Here's the handoff to Selvey. Selvey with some good blocking inside from the guard, and Danny Williams providing a big block inside. Keon Selvey rumbles up to about the 47-yard line, an 8-yard pickup, and that's another St. X first down. So the Bomber offense getting it in gear, and a touchdown here could really raise their spirits a great deal.
Yeah, inside handoff to Keon Selvey there.
So a good block put on by number 64 for the Bombers. That's Jason Ania, the man who came into the ballgame for Dave Alsbach. Jason putting on a nice block there. Selvey Ritter still in the backfield. Riley spread out really wide here, and Glazer dropping in underneath him. Gusick hasn't been used yet in the second half, but we'll be calling Mike's name a little bit also. You're getting a good look there at Joe Springard. He seems to be audibleizing at the line there, Steve, as the Bombers taking a long time. Fumble inside as Springard definitely didn't have the ball. Tried to hand it off to Selvey, and the Crusaders have recovered their second fumble. The handoff, I think, went to Ritter, but Steve, it just looked like a confusion on the part there of Joe Springard as he tried to audibilize and then pulled out of center too fast.
Well, right, you did. He definitely checked off. The question is, did Ritter and Selby hear the same thing that that Joe Springard was calling? Obviously, it was designed to be an inside handoff, a quick hitter there. Maybe they did get to communication, I don't know. But the handoff surely wasn't clean.
That's the second fumble the Bombers have lost. The first one didn't come back to haunt them too bad, but Green going to hand off here to Balsley. Balsley with the big hole running through. Unfortunately for St. X, Mike Gussick able to hold on there for the Bombers. Number 25 as Balsley just bursts through the big hole and picks up a good
Balsley,
11 yards on the play.
But Balsley's been reading and reading and reading. That time he took a diagonal sprint at that hole. The hole opened, and boy, I'll tell you, without Gussick, that's a touchdown.
Yeah, obviously Moeller hasn't really had to do anything different other than what they were doing the first half, and they're just they're going right at St. X.
So
off the line.
Fumble may have caused a change in momentum here as the Crusaders coming right back out. There's the inside handoff to number 34, Derek Edwards. Edwards bowling ahead perhaps for a yard, and then Matt stood up by the St. Xavier defensive line. Chris Hoffman, number 34, really getting in there for the Bombers. Matt Loader also getting in for St. X.
I'll tell you, an excellent block that time for the Crusaders. Just excellent blocking all along the line. Don't want to pick out just one guy. But boy, I tell you, they did a great job.
Good job there by Loader. Defensive lineman, senior, 205 pounds as Matt just burst through. Green calling out the signals. Crusaders showing an I-back formation with 2 split outs. Nice fake by Green, and then tripped up there behind the line of scrimmage by number 62, Josh Young, making the stop on Brian Balsley as he just couldn't get going, Dan, but he had some open room.
Thank goodness. Boy, shoestring tackle again. They were blown off the line. You were talking about the 205-pounder. He's got a 274-pounder over. I'll tell you, giving up 69 pounds, that is a lot in a game like this.
Right, and remember, Young's the one that's in for Polskin.
Yeah.
Greg McHugh split out wide. He just checked into the lineup, and so does number 2, Matt Keller, who broke this game wide open. Keller flading out here into the flat. Wide open is Lapham as he beat Marshall, and Dave Lapham holds on to this one and gets down to the 9-yard line. Dave Lapham on a great catch there, and you can see why he's one of the most decorated of the Crusader stars as he gives them the first down and goal to go.
That's a big offensive weapon. If you look at let's take a look at the replay.
We see why he's the leading receiver in the city. Green gets received flanked out here, or tight end. Green's back, looks for him out in the left flat. Ball comes down. Well, we don't quite see it, but boy, I'll tell you, I guarantee it was a great catch, and he beat a great defender in Marshall.
Somebody's got to check him on the line. He cannot. They can't let him clear off that line that easily.
Green with the handoff inside to Keller. Keller trying to bounce off one man, met there by number 71, Sal Jaleen. Tackle Sal Jaleen, and then Lamar Marshall coming all the way from his area to fall on top. So he doesn't let Matt Keller get in on that play. I've really been impressed, Dan, with the work of the Moeller offensive line in pass blocking here. They've just walled the Bombers off most of the night.
Again, no pressure on Green, so that gives you time for your running game, gives you time for your passing game. But they haven't touched Green yet tonight.
Pickup of about 2. We're looking at second down and goal to go from the 7-yard line. 2 split outs in that I-back formation. Here comes Keller on the student body right. 42 trying to get out. Keller just outrunning the St. Xavier defense, but he ran out of Green on the outside there as the Bombers quick to close on the outside, and Matt Keller can't turn it up and in.
A good pursuit on the outside by the St. X Bombers here. There were about 4 or 5 guys over there on pursuit. Well defense, I thought.
Yep, it gave the wide play went a little bit deep, and it gave time for St. X to defend. I always believe down on the goal line, you got to go right at the stripe. You got to get that 6 feet or so by running a little bit diagonal to the line, but never wide. You just don't have time.
Third down and about 6 yards to go as they picked up 6 on the play. 2 wideouts, 84 and 81 for the Crusaders. That's Nick Hodge, Tom Briskin, both out into the flats. Green with the handoff here to Keller. Keller dragged down from behind as Matt Keller looked for pay dirt there. He had a wide hole, but then he ran into one of the arms of the St. Xavier Bombers. And I believe that Brian Houston will come in here to try this field goal attempt for the Crusaders.
46.
Tackle on the play made for the Bombers by number 46, Josh Payton, who's really served himself well here tonight.
Almost stole the ball. Had the glasses on him, Dave, and he had a hold of the ball, and it was just a strength contest.
That would have been a big turnaround for the Bombers. You have to give this defense credit. The first fumble, they just held Moeller to a field goal, and this fumble here that was a real morale breaker for the Bombers as they were on an offensive threat. Let's see if Houston converts the field goal. Lapham did a good job as that snap was high, but Lapham showing the good hands there as he was able to turn the ball around to Houston, and the Crusaders jump out to a 20-3 lead here in the third quarter, and now St. X really has to dig in. We said they couldn't score anymore, but the Bombers here, the defense held them to a field goal after another miscue on offense.
Well, for the St. X Bomber offense, now by this point, you begin to think that there's a number of options that you can just kind of throw out the playbook, and you really begin to restrict yourself. And it's going to make it very, very difficult for St. X to move against a very good football team in the first place. So the key here is, can Springard make the reads that he's going to need? Because Moeller's is going to just lay their ears back and come now, I would suspect.
Poor Springard.
Yeah.
I mean, here he is. He sees a situation where he's coached to call an audible. He calls an audible, but again, it's probably the first time in live action he's ever called an audible, and it doesn't work. He comes over to the sidelines. The coaches are yelling. The kids are, asking what happened. They didn't hear the signal. It's kind of a real baptism under fire for this young man. But again, I believe in him. I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to give a good account of himself on this series coming up.
So number 7, Brian Houston, who's had no trouble kicking with the wind behind his back here, putting the ball into the end zone, looking down at Kevin Ritter, Nick Riley, and Lamar Marshall, who are deep for St. X. They'd certainly like to break one here and take some heat off of that defense that has really been on the field a long time tonight. Houston with a nice high kick, and that one's going to sail way into the end zone. Riley's just going to watch it fly over his head, and that's what you call great offense there, or great defense. Just put it into the end zone and push him back to the 20.
Got a powerful leg. Again, good coverage too. Moeller, I was watching to see if they were going to relax going down there after that kick, because he's kicked 3 of them into the end zone, but they didn't relax. They went down quickly. They stayed in their lanes. They didn't become spectators. So here comes St. X in the most crucial series of the game, I think.
So number 7, Joe Springard checks underneath here as Glazer and Riley are spread out to the right. Here's a handoff inside to Ritter, who's got some room, and Kevin Ritter's going to go 80 yards for the St. Xavier touchdown. There's no flags down, and that's exactly what we said, Steve. Put the ball in his hands and watch the excitement start. Kevin Ritter on a nice little dive inside, 80 yards, and that brings this crowd to its feet here.
Big play, boy, I'll tell you. Inside, great blocking up front by those guys that we named off there. That was probably, that would have been Chavez and Chris Wool and Scott Smith, Big Dan Williams. They followed him right up there. That was a quick hitter. You get the ball into your best athlete's hands, and you can see what he did. The kid, as I said before, we're talking at least a 4.6 legitimate speed. Dan,
tell you, the right guard on St. X. Here's the I thought we were going to have the replay, but
important extra point here for Fricky. Fricky with the kick, it's up, it's good, and the Bombers now find themselves only 10 points down, and that's what they needed, a big play.
2 things happen on this replay. One, the right guard from St. Xavier gets an excellent stand-up block. We just missed it. Also, Moeller shifted out of that hole, so 2 things happened just beautifully. There were a lot of movement on that, but there, Ritter, give the man credit where credit is due. He blasted through there and took the leather 80 yards to put St. X back in his ball game.
That's the speed the Bombers were looking for. So Moeller 20, St. X 10, and now the defense has to rise to the occasion again. I have to give the St. X defense credit tonight. They've kept this ball club in this game so far. And Moeller's piled up some of the yardage, Steve, with that passing and running.
Well, you're right. The defense has been the key so far. I mean, this game could be out of hand. There's no question about it. The offense has been turning the ball over deep in their own territory. The defense has bend, but it's holding for 3, and they're keeping them in the game.
Looks like Matt Polskamp is done for the night, as you see Matt on crutches with the brace on his leg. One of the things the Bomber fans are going to have to be wondering about is if these guys are going to be able to come back against the LaSalle Lancers and the Elder Panthers the next 2 games. It doesn't get easier for St. X as they travel on to Lancaster, and then they also have the Anderson Redskins, who are undefeated at this point. So a rough schedule ahead for St. X, and we hope that those injured players certainly get back to action.
Dave, isn't Anderson ranked right up there in the Harbin ratings, right up around the top?
They're right up in the top. They're in the top 4 teams. The Harbin ratings being done a different way this year. The Crusaders definitely need this game to pile up some Harbin rating points and get up in there for the hunt at the end of the season. Fricky's going to kick this one off high. I was wondering if they were going to try to kick away from Keller, and they did. Here comes the Crusaders. One man to beat. He's got the hole. And then St. X able to come in there as Lamar Marshall that time, and Mike Gussick really put the hit, and then there's an extra fracas afterwards. Marshall and Gussick putting the nice hit on.
I think some of the Crusaders thought there was a little bit of a late hit there, but as long as the man's going, you know, you're allowed to put a hit on him.
1st and 10, Moeller at the 33-yard line, and now let's see if quarterback Mike Green settles back into what has been a very, very comfortable pocket for him, or if he keeps the handoff here going to number 34, Derek Edwards, and number 32, Brian Balsley. Fumble! Nobody's on it yet. And now the Crusaders fell on it as the ball bounced up and then bounced backwards. And that's the first miscue for Moeller tonight as Green just backed out of center a little too quickly. That could have been a major momentum changer.
Moeller's maybe a little rattled, huh? What do you think?
Also, number 62 from St. X had something to do with that. He was driving the center back, and he was a replacement in there, isn't he?
What's that? Young, yeah.
Josh Young is the replacement in there for Matt Polskamp. So the St. Xavier crowd trying to wake up here, come alive for the team. Nice handoff inside to Edwards. Edwards stood up, and then Edwards pushes the defensive line back a little bit. Nice drive here by the Bombers. The fans trying to raise the efforts of the defense, and they've been strong tonight.
Good heart to center that time. Exacted his revenge, because I'll tell you, he went out there and pancaked somebody on that play. That was really a nice battle in the trenches. I think that's what's going to decide the rest of this ball game, Dave.
Some big hits there by the St. Xavier linebacking core, Chris Hoffman and Timmy Banker there.
We had an official's timeout there as one of the Crusader players. That was Dave Lapham, was marched to the sidelines, and I think over there they're just doing a little bit of equipment work on him. So he'll be out here. Let's watch number 81 on this play. That is Tom Briskin. Briskin, the wide receiver that's brought in, and look for McHugh also. Open down the middle. If Green can just see him, he's wide open, and Green overthrows him as he had all the time in the world, but Mike Green just not able to deliver. And now if St. X can get a nice punt return here, they could really change the momentum in the game, as this is becoming a psychological battle for the Bombers, Dan.
Absolutely. Boy, that's surprising that Green had a man wide open. I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of passing drills at Moeller this week.
And a lot of time to throw the ball, too.
Forever.
By time.
The young man also has been stung tonight by some of his receivers dropping the ball. That's why his pass completion ratio isn't that great tonight. But that one he threw just a little bit too far out in front. Houston, who's had some boomers coming off. Marshall putting the drive on. Marshall being held there by number 42, who cuts him up. Fair catch whistled there by Nick Riley on the 30-yard line, and I think he may have saved a good 15 yards as Nick got it there.
Nick kind of scared me with that one. It's a frightening thing to see that ball coming down out of a murky night, and kind of tails down and kind of spins in a strange way. And ball, he got to show good hands, though. You let a punt get to your body, and I'll tell you what, it's almost impossible to catch. He showed great hands and pulled it in.
A lot of pressure for a young man. You're right. He's a junior.
72, Dave Alsbach back in at right guard for the Bombers, and they'd like to push another big one in here. If they could get a score on it, could change the complexion of the game. The St. Xavier fans rose to their feet and gave a standing ovation to the defense. They know what a great job they've been doing. Ritter hitting the backfield, swarmed under by 5 men. Joe Springard just did not, Steve, put the handoff in there. He hesitated with it, and by the time he finally got it to him, Kevin just saw white and yellow jerseys all over him.
Well, I don't know if it made any difference when he handed it to him, because there were 5 Moeller guys right there. I mean, Moeller said, you know, you did it once. It's not going to happen again. Don't come this way.
Right. 98, Andy Bailey was crashing down, happened to crash right into the play, and I'll tell you, that young man gets in there. He did a heck of a job.
3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the third quarter. The St. Xavier Bombers have fought back from a 20-3 deficit. They're now making it 20-10, and they're trying to make a showing of themselves. There's Coach Don DiGiacomo trying to tell that defense to stay fired up. Coach D on the sidelines. His defense has come alive tonight. Springard with the drop. Look for the pass inside. Springard puts it up there to Nick Riley. Nick Riley's going to beat him. Nick Riley's down the sidelines. St. Xavier 70-yard touchdown, and the Bombers have 150 yards in offense in the last 3 plays. The Moeller crowd stunned into silence, and the St. Xavier crowd not believing the 70-yard pass. Joe Springard right on the numbers to Nick Riley, and the Bombers are right back in the ballgame.
Nick Riley, I'll tell you, great communication between him and the quarterback. Moeller was coming on a blitz. Everybody picked up the blitz. It was a hot read. All it was a go down the sideline. Nick, beautiful route, great separation. Springard lays it up, lets him run underneath it. Great pass. Tell you, Dan, you were right. Springard has stepped up the second half. I mean,
He's going to be okay, isn't he?
Important conversion here as Brian Fricke converts. And the St. Xavier Bombers, who were down 20-3 only 8 minutes ago, have now changed this to 20-17, and their crowd is standing on its feet, and they're going to need all the psychology they can get as the Moeller Crusaders beating an undermanned Bomber squad here. 2 big injuries to St. X, but they're not giving up. 3 minutes left, third quarter, and the Crusaders by 3, Dan.
Okay, what do you do now, Dave? Do you kick that ball deep and risk that 90-yard return again? You kick that ball on the ground. You go for maybe a weird onside kick. Take a big gamble here. I say kick away from the kid that ran it back 90 yards.
It's a new football game. It's like starting over again. You just go back and you kick it deep and you say, let's play football again. Now that we've pulled up even, let's play ball.
The difference in the game is that fumble in the second half by the Bombers that led to the field goal by the Crusaders. But the Bomber defense holding him just to the field goal. That was a great play by him. Coach DiGiacomo talking here to Fricke as they're trying to set something up. And now all the St. Xavier fans have risen to their feet as they've made a game of it. This is GCL action at its finest, gentlemen.
St. X's 2 big offensive weapons. Ritter and Riley back to back, big plays.
R&R, Ritter and Riley for the Bombers. Don't give any rest and relaxation to the defense. Matt Keller, dangerous. He's had a 90-yard return, is deep for the Crusaders. And back there with Keller, it looks like number 31, Andre Collins. Let's see if they try to kick it. Yeah, the Bombers did squib it, Dan. Keller still able to pick it up. Some great blocks up here. Keller trying to get outside. Keller throws down number 41. He's got some room on the sidelines. And Keller goes all the way to the 46-yard line. A great run by Matt Keller to bring the Moeller crowd back into this game.
Ooh. Boy, Barrett Doxson, number 41 that time. Looks like he was in position to make a great play, but then he looks like he stopped dead. And what'd you say? It was Keller? Keller ran right over the top of Bolt Barrett there.
Yeah, he got hit. I was watching him with the glasses there, and he got blocked, and he was reeling a little bit. Boy, I'll tell you, Keller flattened him. Man, but again, he slowed him down. Otherwise, I'm afraid he'd have come back bigger.
Let's see if the Crusaders go back to that wall blocking and just hand the ball back here to Balsley and see if Brian can gain him some yards. There they go. Nice block up front. Balsley, big hole as he bursts through, and Brian Balsley brings the Moeller crowd to its feet with a 10-yard gain that just blew the St. Xavier defense off the ball. I think Steve Clowney said something to that offensive line, Dan.
Oh, he did. Goodhart took his man that time, just took him the way he wanted to go and completely blew him out of there. Then they had double up blocking, an isolation block on the middle linebacker, and man, there was wide open down the center.
Moeller football has been here many times before, so you're not going to see them fade and go away. They're going to give you everything they got. And quarterback Mike Green calls out the signals. There's the handoff to Balsley. Balsley with some room, but number 11, Tim Banker, comes out of his middle linebacker position to drop Balsley for a loss.
I'll tell you what, I didn't want to call Banker's name because he got blasted the last play, but that's a great thing about football and a great thing about life, I think. You know, you get knocked on your butt one play, you come back and you're a hero the next. Great game, football.
Yeah, great open field tackle by Tim Riley, or Banker there.
Green here calling out the signals on a very important 3rd down and 3 situation. Green with the handoff to Keller, who's hit behind the line. Brad Ruther and Tim Banker on the blitz, and the St. Xavier fans and sidelines are just going wild as the Bomber defense holds the Crusaders to 3 and out, 4th down.
Boy, Brad Ruther, I'll tell you, he picked up where he left off the first half.
What a gamble by coaches, too, to blitz on a 3rd, and I'll tell you, it worked, and I tell you, that's why we're in the booth and they're down on the field. But boy, oh boy, what a great play by Ruther.
Officials timeout as number 85, Brad Ruther, is going to be checked out here. Josh Young ran off the sidelines, and Ruther may be injured. He went out early in the year with a little bit of a problem. He had to sit out one of the games as they kept him out, and they thought he may be suffering a little bit of double vision, those kind of things. And Brad down on one knee. He may just need a breather here as he's really played his heart out in this second half. Riley and Ritter deep for the Bombers, and they're going to have to hang on to the ball as Houston's going to punt into the wind. Going to punt with the wind behind his back. Steve, that might be something we have to watch in the fourth quarter. The kicking game, as Dan Fricke can really boot him with this wind behind his back. It may give him an extra 5 yards.
Absolutely. And what kind of average we got on him, Dave? Was he about 30? Was he about a 36 average?
If the Bombers can get the ball to about the 31-yard line, 32-yard line of Moeller, then Fricke, that's about his range.
Yeah.
He's kicked something in there. Brad giving the thumbs up, looks okay, so we'll have to see what he comes up with.
I think you were right, Dave. I think he was just winded. He was a little weak-kneed there. He's just playing his heart out, and he just needed a break there.
It's exactly what the Bombers need at this time. They're just really going to have to play this one on guts, as right now the Crusaders hanging on to a 3-point lead. Marshall trying to get in, driven off the play. Great kick here. Riley better signal for the fair catch. Nick pulling away from that one as Moeller had 3 men around the ball. And I'm real impressed with this Brian Houston. You can't ask any more of that man as he pins the Bombers way deep back on the 10-yard line.
Well, I tell you what, a kick. I mean, you're right, Dave. This game, as we said earlier, might come down to a kicking battle here. We got a 3-point difference. X starting with terrible field position with a very youthful quarterback. Let's play it safe, guys. Let's get one good play and get out of that hole.
It's very important here for the Bombers to hang on to the ball. Last time when they were deep in their own territory, they fumbled, and they can't do that here. Look for the handoff to come to Ritter, perhaps. There is the handoff to Ritter inside. Safe play for the Bombers. They're trying to match it up inside. Ritter going to pick up maybe a yard. This is a typical Moeller football, though, Dan, too. Fundamentally sound all around in the kicking game, pinning the defense deep. And if Steve Clowney here can have his defense put the Bombers 3 and out, they'll have excellent field position to take a bigger lead.
Just want to mention a block by 55 that time from St. X. He pancaked his linebacker. And
Manuel Chavez on the block.
I'll tell you, that was a picture-perfect block by Chavez. But again, it was just a quick hit in there.
An excellent third quarter for the St. Xavier Bombers as they make up 14 points on the Moeller Crusaders. 20 for Moeller and 17 for St. X. The Bombers down 3 points. The Crusaders have them pinned very deep in their area. As the third quarter ends, the crowd definitely into this game here. We're going to go down to the field for an interview with Jim Emick.
I'm standing here with Pete Borland, the athletic director at St. Xavier High School. Terrific game, Pete, tonight. I know this is hopefully an indication of what's to come for St. X. What is to come for St. Xavier High School in the athletic program?
Well, Jim, we're just trying to get a very well-rounded program going and emphasizing all the sports. Football's doing real well. Soccer is ranked #1 in the state of Ohio right now. Cross country's doing real well. So we're just trying to get a very well-balanced program with all the sports in the school and also adding some new sports. We're going to add volleyball this year. We're going to add lacrosse next year. So that's our mission, and I think we're well on our way.
Well, good. It's good talking to you. Congratulations on a great first year, Pete.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Pete Boylan there, the athletic director of the St. Xavier Bombers. The Bombers last year, probably the best all-around sports program in the state, as they placed 7 teams in the top 10, and they just run through the GCL, winning their 3rd straight GCL title. The Moeller defense, Dan, rising to the occasion as Ritter was just rocked on the line of scrimmage.
He caught that ball again on the handoff there down on his hip, and that's what slowed him down, Dave. And well, I'll tell you, thank goodness he didn't drop it down there. Again, more repetitions, this young quarterback with these veteran offensive backs, it'll work.
3rd down and 8 yards to go. A major pickup here for the Bombers if they could get this, because I'll bet you Moeller will bring everyone, maybe even including their grandmothers, to block the punt if they can't get this. Ritter the lone setback. Selvey and Riley out here. They like to run post patterns on these inside. But let's see so deep if they're going to keep with the safe handoff. They do to Ritter, and Ritter just rocked on the line of scrimmage. So the Bombers not wanting to do anything serious, but now they have to punt. And I've got to tell you, I think the Crusaders are going to bring everybody up on the line because Dan Fricke is not the quickest man in the world getting the punt off.
One of the beauties of the 44 defense that Moeller plays is those 2 inside guys occupy 3 offensive people, and Troy Tuck was scraped off that time and was wide open. Here's the punt, Dave. You call it.
Dan, we have to really give credit to the Moeller defense as the Bombers had really turned the tide around there, but Moeller defense coming major to the occasion. Nice high punt that's going to be taken on the 45. And then right down as Matt Loader, number 34, just took down the dangerous Matt Keller as soon as he touched the ball. Big play there for the Bombers, but Moeller in excellent field position, gentlemen.
That could be the name of the game, Dave. Kicking, as we said again and again, might mean the difference in this one. Moeller has a 50-yard advantage on X's field position. If you remember, X started down around the 6 or 8 yard line. Moeller is starting at midfield.
Both sidelines standing, rooting their teams on here as the fourth quarter begins. This is GCL action at its finest. The Crusader fans standing and applauding, the Bomber fans all up. No one has been sitting down since that 70-yard catch by Nick Riley. Green, handoff here to Balsley. He's just got wall blocking in front that's knocking the Bombers back. Barrett Doxey trying to come up there on the play for St. X. And I think they're just going to run behind that big offensive line and try to get things calmed down in the game.
You called it, Dave. I mean, I'd say there was a good 5 yards from the line of scrimmage before you probably saw a blue jersey. All you saw was a wall of yellow out there, yellow and white. And he had 5 yards before he had to worry about a St. X defender.
Balsley with a pickup of 6, 2nd down and 4. If the Crusaders, they're known, Dan, for scoring early in the fourth quarter and really putting the other team at odds, and right now that's exactly what they're going to try to do. Green, wide open, is 86 down the middle. Oh! St. X had the interception right in their hands. Number 42 for the Bombers, Nick Kuhlman, just happened to get tangled up in the feet there as he had the big interception, and that would have been the play the Bombers needed.
It's one of those tough ones where you're running away from the ball and it's on the other side of you, and you had to kind of dive back for it. But I'll tell you, big play by number 42 for St. X.
Nick Kuhlman,
because Green had all day again to throw the ball.
Right, he did.
I think he may have even went to the wrong receiver, Dan, as number 86 was unmarked on the outside out here.
I was going to say that, boy, they're wide open. Look, come on, St. X. Let's get
3rd down and 4. The Bombers have to try to hold here. You can hear the crowd right through our camera microphones. Green with plenty of time, going to roll to the right. Green going to run to pick up the 1st down. Great play there by Tim Banker as he comes up to get Green and knock him down right around the 1st line marker. And let's see, I think they have it where they're going to put the spot down. It looks like Green does have the 1st down.
That'll be a close measurement. That's going to be a close one. It'll be the ball length if it is.
It's interesting, the coaches up here in the press box for Moeller, you can hear them yelling, get down, get down. They don't want this Green hurt. He looks like for a 6'4" kid, I'll tell you, he can move right out there.
6'4", 210, you're right, Dan.
And he, you know, when you're running the ball as a quarterback anymore, it's in fashion to make that old hook slide and don't take those hits from those linebackers that got a 10-yard run at you. Here comes the measurement. You'll see it on the camera.
Dave Lapham looking over there for the Crusaders. They're just short. They're just short as Tim Banker made the big play. I'm sure Steve Clowney's going to look at a 210-pound quarterback and run it behind the offensive line right here. 9 minutes, 49 seconds remaining. Clowney going to go for the 1st down. He's going to bring the big boys in. That's number 34, Derek Edwards. And number 86 is also going to check into the lineup, Greg McHugh. Steve, do you think they'll try to pull a trick play here?
Nope, I don't. I mean, there's no reason to think they've been successful on the line so far.
Let's see if they go behind number 77, Gabe Tincher. He's 6'4", 274 pounds, and St. X has no one that matches up to him. In the backfield for the Crusaders is number 2, Matt Keller, who likes to bounce outside, and number 34, Derek Edwards, who is a great blocking back. Green going to call out the signals. It's going to be who's going to win. Green plunging ahead, and Green, I believe, definitely got the 1st down as he went right behind his center there.
It's Goodhart, met the charge, and then a second effort. Goodhart just drove him out of there. I got to give credit to Schaefer and Murphy, too. I'll tell you what, that was a great line charge there by Moeller.
The Crusaders pick up just the 1 yard they need to get the 1st down, and it'll be 1st and 10. They're on the St. Xavier 38-yard line, and right now the Moeller Crusaders eating up important time on the clock. 9 minutes, 38 seconds remaining. They took the ball on about the 49-yard line, and they're going to try to punch a score in here and really put the pressure on the St. Xavier offense. Green calling out the signals. He's had all day to pass. He's going to go back to that pass. Got the man on the fly pattern. That's Lapham. Marshall with the interception. Breaks away from Lapham. He needs a block. He runs into his own man. And Lamar Marshall makes the play for the St. Xavier Bombers.
You know, Dave, I can't understand it. Why was Moeller trying to pull it out? They've been so successful on that run. Why not just run it down the field? Lamar Marshall, I mean, this guy's he's a legitimate Division I college football player.
I'll tell you what, Lamar might have been playing a little awesome out there, just kind of letting this guy look like he was open, because Marshall can close on somebody faster than anybody I've seen in a long time. What an excellent play, Dave. What a great athlete.
You know, it looked like he did is, I mean, it was like what great defensive backs do. He looked the receiver in the eye, the eyes light up, then he turned around and
grabs that ball.
He didn't lose contact.
Joe Springard, the man on the dime right now, as he's got to produce. The handoff to Selvey. Tuck it in. Tion held that ball out on his hip. He's going to have to tuck it in because Tuck and those guys are going to get it. And I think nope, we're not going to have a flag. We're going to have the referee talking to the man.
Dave, what happened is Williams pancaked his man again. I'm telling you, this 59 is a hell of a player. He pancaked his man, and he had something to say to him, and I think there was a little discussion after the play.
I'm not going to be surprised if we see a flag thrown here, as the Crusaders are saying they've been held, but then they punched the face mask there of one of the St. Xavier players, and the referee saw that and said, let's stop that right now. With 8 minutes, 30 seconds to go, you don't need a senseless foul. Everyone in this stadium is standing. No one is sitting in the seats as Springard calls out the signals. Little delay in the backfield to Selvey, goes nowhere as the Crusaders are just not biting on that fake to Ritter. And Steve, it looks like maybe we got to just get the ball back in Kevin's hands.
Well, it's the quick hitters that are working. See, Moeller's getting penetration is what's happening, so that delay is not going to work as much. But their success has been on the quick hitter. Right now, they got to go.
3rd down and 6 to go. This is an important play coming up for the St. Xavier Bombers at 3rd and 6. The Bombers really need to convert here.
Could be a screen. No screen's been thrown in the game so far.
And that might be an important point. 2 years ago, the Crusaders threw 2 screen passes that just killed the St. Xavier Bombers in that 28-21 win. Springard going to bring it out here to Ritter. Threw it too far in front of him. Looked a little step back there, Steve, and I thought maybe he could let the play set up, as he definitely had plenty of time before throwing that one out to Kevin Ritter.
Right, he did. That's what it was. It was a screen to somewhat to the weak side over here. You just got to sit, let it come, let it develop, let your receiver get out there.
So Joe learning important lessons here tonight with 7 minutes and 46 seconds to go. The Bombers may not get that many more chances to get the ball, so they're going to have to use every chance they can get to best of their ability. There's a nice high punt by Fricky. Keller going back. Keller signaling for the fair catch. Fumble! And Matt Keller falls on the ball back on the 20-yard line. Dan, you called it before. You hate to see that fair catch with that ball turning end over end because you just don't know what it's going to do.
It kind of comes down to you lopsided. It looks like a spiral from the stands, but they kind of come down and it kind of faded down. Also, remember the wind, as you said earlier, Dave, is at St. X's back, so that'll play little tricks with that ball. But Keller fell on it right away, and this is the series, do or die.
The St. Xavier Bombers playing with a lot of heart and soul here as Matt Polskamp and Damian Duros have been out. They were injured early on in the game. They've been undermanned, but they fought back to get within 3 points of the mighty Moeller Crusaders, ranked #1 in the city. And Moeller has shown us their strength, running behind that wall, blocking, and just having backfield by committee, all of them doing a great job. Green's had all day to pass. Here's Balsley. He's got plenty of room to run, and Balsley puts his head down and just barrels ahead. Mike Gussick and Lamar Marshall making the stop. We've called their names a lot. There you see Steve Rasso and Don DiGiacomo calling out there, telling them to get in tight.
Want to mention Tincher, Murphy, Goodhart, Schaefer, Nash, and I'll tell you that offensive line, if I missed somebody, I'm sorry, but they are just doing a heck of a job, Dave. They're rooting them out.
7 minutes and 20 seconds remaining as a 9-yard pickup on that play. Correction, that was a 10-yard pickup on the play, and the Crusaders have a 1st and 10. They're moving from the 33-yard line.
That was at left tackle by Meshy that I missed.
Green calling out the signals. He's got the big backfield in behind him. Edwards with a good block, but met head on right there was Balsley. Matt Loader in on the stop for the St. Xavier Bombers.
Boy, I'm telling you, Steve, as you said before, Loader's a guy that did the job. He met the block, stacked the hole up, and then made the tackle. I'm telling you, that's tough to do against, some all-conference linemen like Moeller's got.
And he's giving away a lot of weight. I think they've got him listed about, what, 202? Matt's not 202, I can tell you that.
The Crusaders have been running behind that big offensive line, and they found some power in it. 2nd down and 9 yards to go. Green has had plenty of time to throw all night. Banker on the blitz. Great play defensively there for the Bombers as the nice diving stop. Lamar Marshall getting his hand in there, and one of the Crusaders is not getting up. He's down on the play, and this could be bad as he hasn't even flinched yet. I hope the referees see it quick and call a timeout so they can get the trainer out here. Now the referee sees it. Great play by Marshall.
Is that Lapham? Is that 89?
Yes, Lapham down too.
It looked to me he probably had the wind knocked out of him because he went right down on it. It may have fallen down on the ball. I don't know. But
he's jumping up. I think you're right, Steve. He's just jumping up, walking off under his own power. He didn't move there for a second, so he probably did have the wind knocked out of him. 3rd down, 9 yards to go. If the St. X defense can hold here, the offense may have a little bit of field to work with.
We play the game, Dave. I tell you, this is it.
You know, it seems like Moeller they get off one big play, and then St. X steps up and shuts them down the next 2 or 3.
We'll be right back after this message along the Waycross Community Television Network.
This is David.
Oh, hi.
This is what David's done. David went to college. Sorry, Annapolis. David taught himself to play piano, the sax, even the bagpipes. Well, maybe not the bagpipes. David was NBA Rookie of the Year. He's also been to the Olympics twice. David even became a naval officer. David's sure done a lot. But you know one thing David's never done?
Drugs.
David doesn't do drugs. Maybe that's why he's done so much.
6 minutes, 28 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter. The Moeller Crusaders hanging on to a slim 3-point lead as they've seen an undermanned St. Xavier Bomber team come back 14 points to get right back in the ball game. Moeller with a 3rd down and 9 called timeout. Dan, you said this is a big play. Mike Green agreed with you and wanted to go to the sidelines. Let's see who the Crusaders throw to here. The Bombers in a blitz. Wide open down the middle. He catches on to the ball. And that was number 86, Greg McHugh, the man we had talked about. He had all the time in the world. Big play there as that one goes from the Moeller 34 to the St. Xavier 32. That was Greg McHugh. We called his number out when he ran in. Green with plenty of time in the blitz from the Bombers.
Like we said, really early in the game, McHugh's a big play guy. His dad was also a Moeller man, Paul McHugh, and was an excellent long jumper. I think the genes kind of kicked in there. McHugh could really scoot down the field.
Big play for the Crusaders as they stay alive. 1st and 10. They're going to throw it out here to Keller. He loves to run around that tackle and go around in. But Keller driven down here. Number 71, Sal Jaleen, making the big play for the Bombers.
What a big call by Moeller. I mean, you know, it's 3rd down. Everybody in the stadium knows it's a big call, and you air it out. That takes a lot of guts. Obviously, some coaching saw somebody saw something upstairs that they were going to keep in their back pocket, and then they brought it out.
I'll tell you, Green showed a lot of poise on that play too. The ball game's on the line, and your guy's wide open. You got to float it down there to him. He did exactly that, right on the money.
The clock is the friend of the Crusaders, ticking down to the 5-minute, 30-second mark. Moeller ahead by 3 and on an offensive drive here, trying to put the game out of reach. Edwards with the straight-ahead run, and Edwards stood his man up, bolting back about 3 yards. But the Crusaders are again faced with a 3rd down and about 5 yards to go here.
Looks like Gusick and who is that, Banker on the tackle there?
70 or 80, is there a 70 or 80? Looked like a 0.
Can't say enough for number 25, defensive back, 6 foot 1 inch, Mike Gusick, the junior. He started last year as a sophomore, and he's just absolutely turning into one of the best defensive backs in the city. Right up there near the lead in tackles for St. X, and he's definitely come to play his heart out here tonight. Barrett Doxey out here on number 81. Let's watch this matchup. Senior against sophomore. Green with the handoff to Merritt. Merritt trying to get through, and Matt Keller trying to get through for the Bombers. Let's see where Matt Keller goes. He spun off the tackle there, and depending where they mark it, we may see a field goal coming up here for the Crusaders.
Again, that outstanding offensive line play by Moeller really opened the line up. Keller shot through there, but again, St. X closed it down because they were blown off the line. The defensive secondary and the linebackers really came back and recovered on that play very nicely.
4th down and about 1 to go. The plays just keep getting bigger and bigger here.
What do we
as we go down here.
They're going to go for it.
They're going for it.
it.
Let's see if Keller goes outside or if they're going to try to do that quarterback sneak again. The Bomber defense has to rise to the occasion big here. Edwards in the blocking back position, number 2. Matt Keller, the junior, who's really ignited this Bomber team tonight with his run back's going to get the ball. Keller going to bounce outside. He's going to get the first down. Matt Keller going right off the block. One-on-one blocking out there, Dan.
Another good call. I'll tell you what, 62 for X, shot the gap that time. If that would have been a quarterback sneak, it would have been stopped. Again, good coaching makes good calls in crucial situations. They went outside with Keller. We were talking before about how you don't run wide for short yardage situations. Keller read the correct place and slid outside for the crucial first down in the ball game.
Big teams make big plays. That's the third down conversion on this drive for the Crusaders, and Mike Green has really been cool back there. Green going to look to pass, got 2 men open in the flat. Green connects this time. Nice catch out there made by number 89, Dave Lapham, as Lapham went down to the knees to pull that one in. Great catch. And so Mike Green connecting with Lapham for about 6 yards. We're going to look here about second down, 4 yards to go. 3 minutes, 30 seconds. This St. Xavier defense has been on the field a long time. These guys, I'm wondering how much more they can reach down and bring out, Steve.
Excellent play, excellent play. Throw the ball low to Lapham. A very low risk play on that one, Dave.
Green calling out the signals. He's really seen their leadership here. Hand off to Keller. Keller's got plenty of room on the outside. And the St. Xavier defense finally comes up. That's Gussick and Marshall who had to watch the initial hit. I'm really impressed with this Matt Keller, Dan. He's been making the big plays.
He cuts so well. He, again, as Steve said earlier, he just cuts so. Both of these tailbacks for Moeller, they just run them in and out of there interchangeably. But Keller seems to move so well laterally. Reminds you of a lot of great backs who've got great feet.
And those backs are, I'll tell you, they're gonna head a steam up. They're getting into that secondary, and they're already at full speed. It makes for a long night for those defensive backs.
First down and goal to go. The ball is just inside the 10-yard line. A score here would definitely put St. Xavier way, way down. Pitch out here. Little bit of fumble in the backfield by Keller, who comes back around field and then is driven upfield on the tackle by St. X. The Bombers heading back on the 15-yard line, but Keller reverse field, and the tackle finally made there by number 46, Josh Payton. Looked like the St. Xavier tackler pushed him forward about 3 yards.
Well, you called it, Dave. You called it all the way. Keller is really showing his colors here. I mean, what a great effort by the young man. He got hit. He was trapped in the backfield, but he just that second and third effort just managed to get the ball down close. We got a timeout here by St. X, and they got to gather themselves to give themselves a chance to win this ball game.
A good call here by the coaches on the St. Xavier sidelines, as those Bombers just absolutely, I think, need a breather, Steve. The Crusaders here on about a nice long drive. The big play coming on the third down pass. And right now they're just running behind that offensive line, wearing St. X down.
Yeah, you know, the story here probably for the last, I would say, 6-7 minutes has just been field position. Moeller's been playing on St. X's side of the line for the last 7 minutes. And I think on 2 drives they were shut down. X, on the other hand, really was pinned back because of punting and so forth. They just couldn't get on track.
Well, the last 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 40 seconds or so of the ball game, actually 2:47. St. X's do or die situation down there. We got the ball 2nd and 5, and this is a big. Again, we talked about big plays all night, but if St. X is to come back and get in this ball game, give themselves a chance to win, they got to stop this play. Steve, what are you going to call here?
I just go with your wall blocking again. I'd go to the outside, just keep on going. I mean, they've, it's been 3-4 yards before St. X has had any problem.
Power eye for the Crusaders, and that's Balsley who's back there. Balsley looking to the left. He's got some room if he cuts it outside. Great play up there by the St. Xavier Bombers, number 41, Barrett Doxey coming up for the Bombers. Big on that one as Balsley had some room to the outside.
Well, I tell you, Balsley showed great speed, and so did Doxey. I mean, he came out there and shut the play down. He was one-on-one, mano-a-mano.
Junior Barrett Doxey stepping up big for the Bombers. Comes to the sideline as he's been replaced. The St. Xavier are going to have to get a little bit more beefy inside as they're now down near that 3-yard line. 2 minutes, 13 seconds and counting. The Crusaders milking the clock. If they can get a score in here and milk that clock, they can pretty much salt it away.
Coach Rassel was trying to get him to call timeout. I think he sees a mismatch.
Green with the pitch out here. The pitch out to Keller. Keller trying to cut it up. Keller kept away from the goal line, but second effort, he thought he got over, but no, the Crusaders signaling for it, but the referees say no, they're going to move him out. No, now they're going to say yes. as Matt Keller cut it up, and originally they said no, I thought he had it, but then they went back and said yes. So Matt Keller, a 3-yard touchdown run with 1 minute and 49 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter, gives the Moeller Crusaders a 26-17 lead.
Well, I'll tell you, Matt Keller's the story of this ball game in a lot of ways. That time he got hit 3 times. Just showed a whole lot of will and managed to get the nose of that ball over the goal line, and as we know, that's all it takes.
So Brian Houston, number 7, will attempt the conversion here for the Crusaders. Ball's put down. Houston with the nice long kick. Good follow through by Houston. He converts. The Crusaders 27 and the Bombers 17 with 1:49 remaining. They definitely need a touchdown on the kickoff run here and then get the onside kick, as Joe Springard's going to be talking to the men upstairs. A very appreciative St. Xavier crowd claps for this defense, which really has played well. They've had their backs to the wall, and miscues by the offense has really hurt them as some of the crowd starts to file out here.
Well, and if you think about it, Moeller's really only driven the ball on 2 series against St. X, the opening series and that one right there. Other than that, the defense has really stepped up and did a great job. I mean, they were put in some very tough positions. As Dan pointed out earlier, they've been on the field a long time. You're just going to wear down against that Moeller beef. And
it's tough. You got a bigger guy hitting you all night. And again, I'm very sure that Moeller conditions and plays for the last of the fourth quarter, because the guys that are ahead at the end of that fourth quarter are the ones that win the ball game. And you got bigger guys hitting you all night. It does wear you out. That's all there is to it. But I'll tell you what, St. X has shown so much heart in this ball game. Lost 2 key players, including especially their quarterback, and still made one heck of a ball game out of it. They got a lot to be proud of.
Brian Houston going to kick off here. Bomber fans hoping for a miraculous run back. I wouldn't be surprised to see Houston just dub it into the dirt short so that St. X will be forced to march a long way. And that's exactly what he does. Dubs it in, but Marshall's going to come up here, pick it up. He has a little trouble picking up. Now Lamar's got it. He's hit there by number 99 first. Brian Fitzpatrick coming down, the senior for the Crusaders, making the nice stop. And now St. X is just going to have to go to Air Sprengard and see if they can get a quick score on the board and hope for an onside kick. The Moeller Crusaders 27, the St. Xavier Bombers 17, 1st and 10 X from the 34-yard line. This is the start of a great athletic weekend here at St. X. Tomorrow, the St. Xavier Invitational. 3 of the top 10 teams in the state in cross country coming in to run. Cleveland St. Ignatius down here watching the game tonight, along with St. Xavier and Lakota, will be 3 of the featured teams. The number 1 ranked soccer team plays tomorrow against the Moeller Crusaders, so just the start of a big sports weekend for the Bombers. Sprengard going to drop back. Sprengard under some pressure. Sprengard going to air it out. He's got Selvey open as Selvey got behind the defense. And
I got to think Selvey was held on that one. He looks like he just stopped dead in his tracks. He was looking around. Tion was looking around for a referee saying, where's the flag? That was held.
How about Sprengard stepping up in the pocket there, huh? Three rushers on him, young man. Boy, I'll tell you, that was a nice play.
I think that 70-yard pass did more for that man's young confidence than anything else, as he connected with Nick Riley on a perfectly thrown ball. And he certainly stepped up there. If Damian Duros is hurt, this is the kind of stuff that Steve Rasso is going to point out as good spots coming out of the game here. Let's see if they run that pattern deep again. Selvey was behind the defense.
Kind of looking for the 2-minute drill, maybe.
Ritter going to go in motion again as the Bombers have a tight end in tight. Sprengard dropping back. Moeller going into a prevent. Sprengard was hit as he let it go, and it's intercepted by number 41 for the Crusaders, and that's going to salt this one away. That's Troy Tuck, who had a fumble recover earlier. Sprengard was just hit, Steve, as he let that one go.
Right, and X was they were in a no-back situation that time. There really wasn't anybody to help out. So if someone broke through, there wasn't a back to help out. The pocket just caved in, and Sprengard, as you said, he was stepping up to throw and got hit in the back, and the ball just fluttered out of his hand.
1 minute and 8 seconds to go. Let's see if the Crusaders just run the clock out here. They've got the game salted away at 27-17. The Bomber defense going to try to hang on, not let any more points in here, as they will look ahead next week to playing the LaSalle Lancers in the Battle of North Bend Road. St. X and LaSalle from Lancer Stadium. You see the clock ticking down there as Green calls out the signals. Green with the handoff inside to number 34, Derek Edwards, and Edwards just plows ahead for a few yards. Crusaders can just run the clock out here with a 10-point lead, and I think the Bombers are just going to let it run.
I don't know. I'm not sure how many timeouts they have left. I would think maybe 1 at this point anyway.
Second down and about 8 yards to go here for the Crusaders, as that was a 2-yard pickup on the play. So the Moeller Crusaders hang on to their #1 ranking in the city with an impressive 27-17 win over the St. Xavier Bombers here tonight. The Crusaders, running behind that big offensive line, just ground the Bombers down in the late 4th quarter, putting in the final touchdown on a run by Matt Keller. Keller, the offensive story for the Crusaders, with 2 touchdowns. So he is accounting for 12 of their 27 points. St. X calls a timeout here. That'll give us a little time for a few thoughts of yours, Dan.
I'll tell you what, I think one of the biggest plays in the ball game was the 3rd down and 8 pass to McHugh. McHugh, number 86, thrown by Green. Green threw a strike in there. McHugh kind of gave a kind of a fake, looked like he was going to run a corner, and then he just ran a fly, got behind his man. A lot of times there's a lot of passes dropped tonight for some reason or another, but on that particular play, McHugh just gathered that ball in, provided that key first down, which was the key play on the drive to Moeller's last touchdown. So, you know, there are a lot of key plays, but that was sure a big one.
I think the big play of the game was when the touchdown, 90-yard touchdown run there by Matt Keller right before the halftime just gave the Crusaders that 14-point lead. But have to give credit to the St. Xavier Bomber coaching staff. Steve, they picked the young men up at halftime, and they came out and played a fine 3rd quarter against this great Crusader team. Green just drops the ball down there. St. X calling timeout with 3 seconds remaining in the game as Matt Green just downs the ball.
You know, and Dave, it was probably the mistakes in the first half that really undermined the St. Xavier Bombers. When you got 2 very good teams playing, it unfortunately comes down to the team that probably makes the fewest mistakes. Both teams made some mistakes, but in all honesty, I would think that St. X's were much more costly. But you know, Steve Rasso and the coaching staff and this football team is not going to use that as an excuse. That's part of football. You know, good teams don't make mistakes, and when they do make mistakes, you bounce back. And you know, that's really the story. And you know, you can't put yourself in a hole. And unfortunately, that's what the Bombers have done early on. And it's difficult to play catch-up football with a sophomore quarterback when your #1 guy goes down.
The Bombers go on the road next week to LaSalle. Then they'll be home for a big game against the Elder Panthers, the Anderson Redskins, and the Lancaster Golden Gales, also on the Bomber football schedule for the rest of this year. So we hope to be bringing you some more of these games on the Waycross Community Network as Mike Green just downs the ball. The Moeller Crusader fans come onto the field as they're definitely celebrating with their Crusaders. This game will be on Friday the 8th, Saturday the 9th, Sunday the 10th, and Friday the 15th on channel 15 or 9B on your suburban access. Fans out here, as you see the fans mobbing the Moeller Crusaders as they move to 5-0. The St. Xavier Bombers go to 3-2. The team's trying to be separated there from the fans so that they can shake hands in GCL fashion. The Bombers with nothing to look back on tonight as they came back real big after they were down 17-3 with a lot of heart and a lot of guts, and a young sophomore quarterback bringing them along.
Dave, you got to wonder what 2 losses for St. X is going to do when you consider that there's what, 8 or 9 Division I teams that have gone undefeated at this point. With the Harbin points and the ranking system, it's going to be extremely difficult, I would think, at this point for St. X to make the playoffs. You know, it sounds a little ridiculous, only 4 or 5 games into the season, but the way the rankings work, St. X simply needs some help. Is what the point is, and they have to play. They've got to go 100%.
They've got to go 100%. That's right. They're going to have to upset the Elder Panthers, who are currently ranked higher than them in the city, and they're going to have to play a tough Anderson team and a tough Lancaster team on the road. And so the St. Xavier Bombers doing themselves well here tonight. We're trying to hold on to see if we can get an interview with Coach Steve Clowney of the Moeller Crusaders down on the field. And that's why you're seeing some of these parting shots here. We'd like to thank the Waycross Community Cable crew who's been here tonight, doing a great job bringing you what is a very, very exciting football game, and a game that had many big plays in the 27-17 win here for the Crusaders. I like the poise of the Crusaders, Steve, there in the 4th quarter on that long drive. Mike Green just settled down, kept his team. Nice long pass, but then the running game just took over for him.
Well, you know, it's a class program over there at Moeller, and Steve Clowney is a very, very good coach. And you know, maybe we'll get a chance to hear from Steve right now, as a matter of fact, down on the field. If he can get him away from his team, there's quite a mob over there in the Moeller section. But as I was saying, you know, it's not really a surprise that you know, that they would be relaxed. They're a very well coached football team.
Tell you, it was a well-played football game on both teams' parts. These teams are well coached, represent their schools very well. You know, a hotly contested game. No roughing calls, no unnecessary roughness, no face masks. It's unbelievable how well coached both of these teams are and how responsive these young men are to good coaching.
Final yardage in the game, 247 for Moeller, 241 for St. X. The Bombers recording 6 first downs, the Crusaders 12. The Bombers with 1 penalty, the Crusaders with 4 on the night. And the passing, I think, was where things really came down, as the passing yardage there for the Crusaders, 6 of 18 for 111. The Bombers 3 of 11 for 95 yards. And the big play was certainly the gun for the St. Xavier Bombers tonight. The 70-yard pass to Nick Riley, a great reception. 80-yard run by Kevin Ritter, and anyone who watches that just sees what a great athlete that young man is. And on the part of the Crusaders, I think still the most exciting play, and the play that turned the game around, the 90-yard punt return by Matt Keller right there before the halftime, sending St. Xavier, instead of going in only 7 points down, going in 14 points down. We're still working for the interview on the field with head coach Steve Clowney of the Moeller Crusaders as this large crowd starts to file out of the stadium here. A huge crowd tonight, and I'm sure we're going to have a big crowd down there on the King of the Road. There's Steve right now down on the field with Jim Emming.
Hi, I'm with Steve Clowney, the head football coach for the Moeller Crusaders. Steve, another terrific GCL football game, another classic matchup. I think you have to be thrilled with the outcome of this game. Looking on this game, looking at the GCL, looking at the games ahead of you, how do you view what's coming up and where you're headed?
Well, everyone's going to be like this. You know, I mean, everyone's a dogfight in the GCL. I mean, you know, I would say most of the teams are pretty equal. Every week we line up in league play. It doesn't make any difference what you've done the week before. I mean, everybody plays. I mean, the league is special, and everybody gets up to play the league. And this is really the first team we played out of Cincinnati this year. I mean, this is our 5th game, and we've really played 4 people that are out of town, or we went to Kentucky twice. So, you know, this was special for us to get in the league, and I'm sure it is for everybody else. And you know, I thought X did a great job. I thought defensively they really hung in and stopped our running game a little bit. You know, in the beginning of the first half, we shot ourselves in the foot about 9 times, dropped about 4 or 5 balls that were big things. And thought Mike Green really played well, considering we had to really rely on him a little bit. And then the punt return before the half really, I think, really ignited us a little bit as far as at least getting into the half feeling a little better. Defensively, you know, they went on a quick count and got us on, 2 big plays. And, you know, we had to take the ball and gut it out here and bring it down the field and put it in. And a championship team does that, you know, and Matt Keller stuck it in for us tonight. He had the punt return, and you know, we really played when we had to play.
You mentioned championship team. Is that the way you feel about this team, Steve? Is this the kind of team that's going to be taking you to Columbus this year, you think?
When I say a championship team, I mean you got to win. The championship teams win those kinds of games. So we've got a lot of those kinds of games up, and we'll find out how much of a championship team we have when we go week after week. But at this point, you know, we're happy. It was a big win for us, a big hurdle for us, and first one down in the league, and we got to go from here, you know. But at this point, you know, I really felt that when we had a play, we played. In the fourth quarter, we drove the ball the length of the field and stuck it in, and that's what you got to do to win.
Thanks for talking with us. Congratulations and good luck on a great season, Steve. Thank you.
Good luck to the Moeller Crusaders as they head out of St. Xavier Stadium with a 27-17 win. This has been a Waycross Community Television production.
This is a production of Waycross Community Television, the access partnership of Forest Park, Green Hills, and Springfield Township with Warner Cable. Opinions are those of the program participants and in no way represent the community governments or the cable company. If you have questions regarding this program, or if you would like to participate in the activities of Waycross Community TV, you may call 825-2429. Or write Waycross Community Television, 2086 Waycross Road, Forest Park, Ohio, 45240.